against all the evil that hell can conjure. All the wickedness mankind can produce, we will send unto them. Only you. What about ammo? No. The chainsaw in Doom 2016 was a unique weapon that would instantly kill a demon at the cost of fuel corresponding to the size of said demon. And upon killing that demon, it would also resupply the player with a big chunk of ammo. Don't ask me what the logic is behind every single demon being filled with buckshot, bullets, and rockets. Though I have been to the donor clinic enough times to know that at least the plasma makes sense. While a useful function, especially for farming the ammo boost rune mastery, it was by no means necessary to beat the game, as 2016 gave you a substantial pool of ammo to pull from, and a plethora of options for making your ammo consumption more efficient, or downright non-existent in the most extreme cases. But Doom Eternal changed all of that. The chainsaw became an integral part of the gameplay loop, as ammo pools were slashed even when fully upgraded, and a lot of the other means of gaining ammo were removed. But it was given the ability to recharge one tick passively in order to get ammo from the lowest tier of demons if you ever found yourself in the position of running low. It was part of the game's way to encourage you to use your whole arsenal of weapons more often, and to use a chainsaw to effectively reload your whole arsenal at once intermittently. Some people really did not like this set of changes and found it needlessly restrictive, mainly because the only way they want to play Doom is to just hold down the super shotgun button for several hours straight until the game ends. And Doom Eternal gets criticized for this game's design choice to this day. But is it really that restrictive? Is the chainsaw even that necessary? And more importantly, is it possible to beat Doom Eternal without ever using the chainsaw? The rules for this challenge are extremely simple. I am once again playing on Nightmare difficulty, no extra lives just like my last two Doom challenges, and I cannot, under any circumstances, use the chainsaw to kill an enemy and regain ammo. There's no loopholes, no times where the game forces you to use it, I just have to use my ammo as wisely as possible. If I completely run out of ammo and there's no way for me to get any more without using the chainsaw, too bad. I've got to use my tools that don't spend ammo until I win or just die and start over, no matter how long the fight is. You can consider this challenge a sort of sequel to my most recent video, a run where I beat Doom Eternal without any upgrades, so if you haven't seen that one first, I'd recommend you watch it beforehand since there's going to be some stuff I gloss over in the interest of saving time. This video is going to be long enough as it is. Thankfully, I've got quite a few tricks up my sleeve that'll make greater portions of this challenge a lot easier than the last one, but I won't really need to make use of any of them here in level 1. I'll be honest, level 1 is so easy to beat without using the chainsaw that I've done it multiple times at this point just to keep things interesting in what's otherwise a fairly easy level that I've gone through more times than I can count. There's ammo packs on the ground absolutely everywhere, such to the point where even if you run out of ammo entirely after certain fights, there are ammo packs left to spare after topping yourself off. Not to mention that ammo packs themselves just give you a lot of ammo relative to what you have to work with. However, the amount of ammo that they give you doesn't scale up as the game progresses. But when you start off with 16 shotgun ammo, there's an ammo pickup worth 8 ammo just off to the side, and you only need 3 shots to kill the zombies in the first room, you can tell that this first level here is being pretty generous. So I pick up the chainsaw we won't be using, and make sure to bind my chainsaw key to something far out of the way so I won't press it accidentally or due to muscle memory. It is worth mentioning that if you run out of ammo for all of your weapons, you'll automatically switch to the chainsaw, so it is still possible to accidentally use it if you're especially unwise with your ammo and accidentally click on a demon. And oh my god, I'm allowed to use weapon mods in this video, thank fucking god. Now the full auto shotgun mod is actually going to be a complete lifesaver later on down the run, and is quite possibly the single most important factor in this entire challenge. But that's not going to be for some time now, and for the time being, sticky bombs are far more ammo efficient. They're a fantastic early game mod for a multitude of reasons, not the least of which are consistent long-range damage and crowd control with their explosive radius as we see in this first fight. The combat shotgun's base fire often requires you to get up close to enemies in order to one-shot them or get them into glory kill range, but sticky bombs let you completely bypass that in order to out-damage a meat shot and one-shot most fodder enemies with a single sticky, and let you kill or stagger multiple enemies at once. And to be honest, I'm not even all that efficient with my bombs in this fight. I spend a bit of time dicking around shooting them with the base fire at mid-range just because I know there's an ammo pickup nearby that'll save me in a pinch if I really need it. Which I don't, and I beat the fight with ammo to spare. Thankfully, squishing the Hell Priest's neck so hard that his head pops off does not consume any ammo, so I'm all good there. And at the next weapon mod station, I grabbed the full auto mod since even though it doesn't become our lord and savior until much later, there's no reason not to grab it now. I start playing a bit too overconfidently here just because I finally have upgrades at my disposal, and while I'm able to take out the Arachnotron pretty handily, I take unnecessary damage in the process so much that some stray projectiles catch me off guard. That's just sloppy, overly risky play on my part. That's not even related to the challenge. But I think it's hard to blame me for being a bit overconfident since sticky bombs really do trivialize taking down this Arachnotron thanks in part to their abilities to destroy enemy weak points. Not only does this prevent the Arachnotron from firing his turret at me, but it also temporarily stuns him, which just lets me rack up even more damage on him. And with the sheer amount of ammo pickups in this fight, this may as well be a vanilla encounter. And once it's cleared out, we can grab the heavy cannon. It's not great right now, certainly not compared to sticky bombs, but once we get our next weapon mod, it'll be a massive help for the rest of the game. Right now though, its main purpose is to help us save up on sticky bomb ammo while we clear out these goons. At least for long enough for us to get to the shotgun ammo. This indoor hallway has an Arachnotron that spawns in this tiny little room here, and it's actually a pretty serious threat. And I normally save my chainsaw for it here, but not this time. I actually cut it pretty close and end up using the full auto mod to finish it off just for the increase in DPS. That should tell you how little I'm worried about my ammo pool in this level. We pick up precision bolts at the next weapon mod station, and this is such a huge upgrade to the regular heavy cannon. Totally accurate hit scan shots that instantly one-shot or stagger every fodder enemy in the game, pierce through enemies, do extra damage with headshots, destroy weak points, work great in combos, deal AoE damage with headshot kills upon mastery, and all this for only 6 bullet ammo per shot. We also pick up the grenade, and now that we can actually upgrade it, we're going to get some serious use out of it, especially in those cases where we do run out of ammo since it's going to be one of our only damaging options. All of these factors put together, plus the next amazing ability of the sticky bombs, which is to be the single most ammo efficient way of killing cacodemons by staggering them with a single shot in their mouth, makes the next arena a complete cakewalk, and I don't have to worry about my ammo the entire time. The final stretch of the level is definitely the hardest part, but after the nightmare that was the no upgrades run, I'm so happy to be able to blast through all these guys without a care in the world. I mean, except for almost dying, but that's par for the course when you pick a fight with the forces of hell. Even if I didn't sign on for whack-ass glory kill hit registration when I became a one-man army against the evils of the underworld, this fight actually almost runs me out of ammo, but I intentionally left plenty of ammo pickups around just in case, and they give me more than enough of a top-off to clear out everything else in the level with just a bit of ammo to spare. Considering we've only got 2 weapons to pull ammo from and I was hardly playing optimally, I'll call that a pretty solid victory. So after heading back to base and picking up the Flame Belch and the first of what will be many Sentinel Crystals and not just the one we're forced to take, we can move on to level 2. The first thing that Exultia demonstrates is one more incredibly useful aspect of sticky bombs, and that's critical hits. Hitting a demon in the head with a sticky bomb deals a critical hit that doubles your damage, even doubling the splash damage to other demons in the same radius, and it makes taking down this Hell Knight so much easier than it was in a no upgrades run. That run had the Blood Punch be incredibly useful as our only tool that passively received upgrades, but in a run where ammo is at a premium, being able to wallop our enemies to death in a single punch is one of the single most useful abilities we'll be getting in the whole game. We then grab our first rune, and I'm so goddamn happy to have my beloved air control for this challenge. I missed it so much in the last 2. We're actually running a bit low on shotgun ammo as we start to make our way to the next arena, especially when we have 3 cacodemons to deal with that all require a sticky bomb each. Luckily, we're not only able to make efficient use of our sticky bombs, including getting a pretty interesting critical hit by shooting in the exact center point on the ground between multiple demons, but this arena has enough ammo to top us off after we kill everything without breaking a sweat. Although after we get our dash, when we circle back around to this arena again, I end up getting totally trashed. But not because I run out of ammo, this Hell Knight just perfectly predicts when I'm going in to kill his buddy. I yearn for a brotherhood like these two share. Okay, time to slice their heads off. Also, I do a secret encounter to get an extra weapon point. This one's super easy. You just have to wait a bit for the cacos to close the gap on you so you can shove your balls in their mouths. Upon arriving in the Hell section of this level, we grab the plasma rifle. But ammo pickups for this weapon are limited throughout the level, so I'm actually going to be saving my shots until I at least get our next weapon mod, which will make each of those shots a lot more valuable. All things considered, we're still doing pretty good on ammo thanks to pickups even after this fight here. Sticky bombs are worth their weight in gold at this point in the game. But having previous knowledge of the game and knowing what ammo pickups are next is very helpful in general, since I know this whole section with the purple goo and the tentacles has a bullet pickup at the beginning and end of it. I can one-tap all of the tentacles with precision bolt and be fully topped off by the time I'm through. Even though using the chainsaw on the tentacles is an option, the game is by no means forcing you into using it in this situation even if you're low on ammo before going in here. Once past the tentacles, we grab a great weapon mod for the plasma rifle with Heat Blast. This is a seriously useful mod for a limited ammo challenge since the Heat Blast themselves do not consume ammo, meaning you can use the plasma rifle to deal damage and get rewarded with more free damage. The plasma rifle isn't the most useful weapon as the game progresses and gets outclassed by the ballista in terms of its ammo pool, but for this stretch of the game it's going to be a huge help. And I proved that in the next arena where I'm able to easily take down a Hell Knight with its assistance. Though this fight does give me a bit of trouble, both in terms of health and ammo, at least my bullets. But unlike the last challenge, it's a lot easier to bounce back from close calls like this when you have more health and mobility and firepower, and man, it's almost like upgrades are useful, who would have thought? What? Moving on, this second secret encounter is probably the easiest one of the whole game. It's just some lost souls conveniently placed next to explosive barrels that you don't even need because they die so quickly. It's just a free weapon point. Which is good because I'm using those points to work on putting Heat Blast on the path to mastery, which requires me to kill multiple demons with the Heat Blast several times in order to obtain. The mastery isn't the best, but extra damage never killed anyone, and some of the encounters in this level give me an excuse to farm it a bit, especially the Slayer Gate. The start of this gate just spawns an absolute swarm of small demons at you that are perfect for farming either Heat Blast or Precision Bolt depending on which you value more. I just went for Heat Blast because I think it's underappreciated. The only thing stopping me from farming the respawning waves forever is, unsurprisingly, running out of plasma rifle ammo. When that happens, I just have to go back to my tried and true sticky bombs and Precision Bolt to wipe the floor with the remaining heavies. It's so nice to not shit my pants upon just seeing a Dread Knight again. Once you're experienced enough with the game, this gate really isn't too bad at all. The final arena of the level gives you plenty of chances to show off the power of the Blood Punch, especially after I got another Sentinel Crystal earlier in the level so I could make it gain extra charge through health pickups, making getting glory kills on demons even more profitable. Once we can do the same thing with armor, we're in serious business. I'm really getting back into the groove of playing this game when I can actually play it normally, and I'm able to wipe out scores of demons before finally running into trouble with this Arachnotron, who puts me on the ropes while I'm low on all but bullet ammo. But it's not a huge deal since there's still some shell pickups and I've got a Blood Punch left in the tank to deal with the rest of the losers. And that completes level 2, sending us back to base to grab the Ice Bomb and do even more Heat Blast farming in the Ripitorium before we head on out to Cultist Base. The start of this level is yet more excuses for me to not only farm Heat Blast Mastery, but also gain a suit token through a level challenge. And these will be instrumental for completing this challenge since some suit upgrades will allow us to get even more ammo from the environment. The Precision Bolt's ability to deal extra headshot damage and pierce through targets proves especially helpful against these mecha zombies, and the pendulums are very ammo efficient at taking out the many spawning Mancubi. After getting another suit token, I decide to buy the suit upgrade that lets explosive barrels spawn ammo when they explode, and this combined with a later upgrade that lets barrels respawn will be huge for us going forward, especially on this level which is absolutely littered with explosives. This next fight right after getting the upgrade already has a couple of bombs that are perfect for giving us a little ammo boost and damaging this Arachnotron. The arena that grants us the rocket launcher does put us in a bit of a tight spot against both Mancubi and a Kako Demon, but even when we have our new high ordnance explosive, sticky bombs continue to prove their worth and easily get us out of this jam. Also, for some reason my rocket launcher skin switched back to the default one during this run. What the hell, I worked hard for that Jade skin. Anyway, once that's done, we can grab our next room with Dazed and Confused to keep demons in stagger states for way longer than usual, which I don't even get a chance to use in the next arena since the plasma rifle in tandem with the nearby shield guys and bombs makes short work of the whiplashes. I then grabbed the lock-on rocket mod, one of the strongest in the game, but a serious commitment with such a small pool of rockets that aren't so easily refilled.
You can definitely see a bit more how much of a difference Dazed and Confused makes in the next arena, where I'm able to dance around this Hell Knight who I was trying to farm Heat Blast off of, all while fighting a Whiplash who I'm able to kill before the Hell Knight comes out of his stagger state. It's a huge bonus that makes a lot of crowded fights like this one a lot easier. So after one-tapping these Lost Souls, which is easy this time now that I have sticky bombs, we head down into the pit, and I make short work of it through liberal use of Heat Blast, a couple of well-aimed cue balls, and a bit of fancy footwork against the final Mancubus. For what a terror this fight usually is, I've had some pretty good luck with it lately. So I clear out this level's first secret encounter, probably a lot less efficiently than I should, but that doesn't matter since after a bit of Revenant piloting, we have our super shotgun. And even though we've been trying to farm Heat Blast ever since we upgraded it, we're putting that on hold to get the super shotgun mastery as fast as possible. This next room immediately after you get it is amazing for getting a ton of easy super shotgun kills because they just leave you a giant pile of shotgun ammo on the ground. They know this is an awesome new toy and they want you to play around with it as much as you want, which I do to great effect. Same goes for this big pendulum axe crusher room. There's so many mecha zombies just chilling out in here that you can easily farm off of them. I even grabbed this secret here that spawns a few soldiers just so I have more enemies to kill. The level's second secret encounter is one that I've had a bit of trouble with in the past. It's even cost me some Ultra Nightmare runs. But this time around, these guys were just super shotgun food. I should mention that I won't be doing all of these encounters, just enough until I feel that I've gotten all the weapon points I need for the mods I'll be using. I'm barely even taking the next few encounters seriously. If anything, I'm wasting time trying to line up multiple fodder enemies just so I can kill multiple at once with a single shot to make the farming process go a little faster. And yeah, I almost died taking unnecessary damage, but I can recover so much easier than I ever could without upgrades. And the sheer amount of bombs in this level dropping ammo makes sticking with primarily the super shotgun feel trivial even without the chainsaw. Finally, in this hallway, we reach the super shotgun mastery and can now gain armor from enemies we grapple onto with the meat hook, which is such a huge bonus, especially once we upgrade our blood punch to recharge from armor pickups. All that leaves for this level is the Slayer Gate and the final arena, and thankfully this Slayer Gate is also just bursting with bountiful bombs. Morshu would be so proud. If efficiency is what you want from this Slayer Gate, you'll have to look for another video because I played like a complete buffoon throughout this entire thing. I hurt myself with my own rocket right out of the gate, I take loads of damage, I miss my ice bomb, I'm not even being ammo efficient and spend 3 shotgun ammo to kill a single Kako demon just to get it done quickly when it only needs 1 shotgun ammo for a sticky bomb followed by a glory kill. But the thing with this challenge so far is that I'm just not feeling the pressure to be super efficient. I can just hold down the button on this Arachnotron to charge up my Heat Blast, watching my ammo counter go down, and a few barrels later I've got the Slayer Gate beaten and my ammo's topped off again. I am cruising through this. What? Learn something new about Doom Eternal every day, I guess. Well, the Plasma Rifle is now basically my best friend in the final encounter. I'm still working towards getting that mastery now that I'm not locked in against the Slayer Gate, and with the haste power-up that temporarily gives you infinite ammo, there's no better way to charge up free Heat Blast to decimate scores of demons. Now I do have to be a bit careful here since the next level actually keeps track of your current ammo count, so you don't automatically reset it like you do when you go back to the Fortress of Doom. So I collect everything I can that's left over in the arena before moving on to the next level. Doom Hunter Base is a pretty similar story to our last challenge where we actually have a fairly breezy time with the whole level, though the opening train fight does leave us pretty low on bullets. One thing that's important to note is that this is the first level we can start working on the mastery for full auto, but because I spent my upgrade points on Heat Blast and the Super Shotgun, I'm just barely short and can't buy all the upgrades until later in the level. This means that the first couple of pinkies that we fight in the level's big arena aren't going to get the chance to go towards our mastery, which is quite the waste. Not the end of the world. I mean, hey, if I really wanted to, I could farm the same pinky over and over again while dying in the same arena so I could just keep farming it and have full auto master by the 4th level, but I want to keep this as legit as possible in case some absolute psychopath wants to try their hand at doing this shit in Ultra Nightmare one day. And hey, this challenge isn't so hard at the moment, and you might be tempted to think that it would be about on par with vanilla, and all I'll say is, Just wait. So with all that rambling and that arena finally done and dusted, that gives us enough upgrade points so that we can use the rest of the pinkies throughout the level to our advantage. A process that I find is that it's easiest when you freeze them with an ice bomb first. Thankfully, because a lot of encounters in the level are smaller incidental ones that are best used for getting level challenges and heat blast mastery points, there's not a whole lot that I feel the need to use ice bombs on, so it's not a total waste. What is a bit of a waste is that I grab my third rune here, but I end up choosing the rune I normally go for in my regular gameplay, when the rune that decreases equipment cooldowns when demons are killed under their effects is much better for this challenge especially. I would not have to worry about waiting ages for another ice bomb or flame belt after a maneuver like this if I had that rune. Oh well, we'll get another chance later. So after turning another Arachnotron into a funny ragdoll, we grab another crystal and use the nearby zombies to finally master Heat Blast. And I just want to point out how much less of a headache this little ledge area is when you have upgrades. I'm just zipping around these guys without a care in the world. And I'll be able to do that a lot more effectively since I go back to grab some suit tokens I missed earlier in order to get the upgrade that lets me regain dashes upon glory kills. Considering how often I find myself dashing towards an enemy to kill them, being able to dash away immediately afterwards is huge for my survivability. So let's put everything we got in this level to the test against the Doom Hunter. I waste absolutely no time in both disabling his shields and racking up damage with the plasma rifle, using the new mastery we just got to deal even more damage with a flurry of attacks after a fully charged heat blast. Combined with a blood punch and a few rockets, his first phase is already not looking so good. Getting that last quarter of his health down without wasting ammo isn't easy, but another blood punch does the trick and trashes his sled. Unfortunately, I'm low on rockets for a follow-up lock-on burst, so we'll have to think of something else to really put the hurt on him. I did end up grabbing the weapon mod for micro missiles earlier in the level, and while they do consume ammo pretty quickly, a couple of volleys combined with another blood punch are enough to take down Doom Hunter number 1. 2 to go. Now going into the second phase actually refills all of your ammo passively, and we have a blood punch ready to go after killing the first Doom Hunter. So one of the new guys gets an immediate right hook as soon as the fight begins. I'm really just dancing around this first guy as I lay into him with rockets, shotgun blasts, and micro missiles, before busting out the plasma rifle to finish off his sled so I can start focusing on the big number 2. And it's a pretty similar story with this guy. I'm flying around the arena and then dancing around him, just pelting him with a constant barrage of damage after a blood punch. And then a flurry of shots from the plasma rifle destroys his sled, and a couple of blood punches brings him seriously low. Though this whole process does leave me with no plasma ammo to fall back on. Considering killing one of the Doom Hunters starts spawning carcasses, I'll have to make sure to grab some more ammo around the map to deal with their shields. Well, I do indeed find plasma ammo, and it's all I need to finish this whole fight. The healthier of the two Doom Hunters comes up behind me in a surprise attack, so I just start unloading every plasma cell I've got into his face, hitting him with a massive heat blast, and the boosted damage shots from the mastery bring him down to nothing in a matter of seconds, and only leaves the mortally wounded second Hunter left, who I smack with another blood punch and finish off with my remaining plasma ammo. Thank goodness I kept my head on my shoulders that whole fight. We're really staying ahead of the game here. After that, we grab some upgrades back at the ship, as well as the ballista, and now we can head out to Super Gore Nest. This level is thankfully littered with explosive barrels all over the place, so thankfully new sources of ammo are usually close by. I make good use of that in this first arena. I'm able to top myself off very frequently despite the large number of demons present here, and on top of having plenty of barrels, this level also has quite a few pinkies that I can wail on with full auto to work towards the mastery. Speaking of which, I get a new mod for the ballista with Arbalest, and spend my upgrade points on getting it ready for mastery. It's basically a more damaging version of the base fire with an added explosion that costs the same amount of ammo as the base fire, so a bit more efficient in terms of ammo spent to damage dealt. This smaller indoor arena is jam-packed with explosive barrels, and I maximize my ammo efficiency by damaging nearby enemies with the barrels, giving me ammo for damaging them with something that's not even my gun. One pinky later, we make it to the buff totem room where I have a much easier time with things than I did in my no upgrades run, even though I once again find the correct room at the last portal left to check. And even the secret encounter is dealt with fairly easily despite me fumbling all over myself and accidentally going into the key portal and fruitlessly punching the mecha zombie in the end as if that'll do something. But hey, a win is a win. After that, we correct our previous rune mistake and grab the equipment efficiency rune so that we can use our flame belching grenades a lot more often. In the big hub arena, I do a pretty good job at clearing out a big chunk of demons with the quad damage power up, but this fight does end up pulling a fast one on me, mostly because I'm hesitating and thinking way too much about how to deal with these Caco demons, since I forgot to arbalest them for my mastery, and I paid the price for my brainstorming session by having my own brain splattered all over the place. The next time around, I don't get quite as many demons as I'd like with quad damage, but I am ultimately successful in this attempt. Though unfortunately I only get one Caco demon with the arbalest since I'm out of plasma ammo afterwards. That's the big downside of the ballista. 25 ammo is a lot to spend all in one shot, when your pool of ammo is as shallow as mine is. Though after a Spectre Pinky, which do count towards my full auto mastery just like the regular ones do, I can put that concern to bed as I get my first ammo upgrade. You may be wondering why I didn't max it out right at the start considering my limited ammo pool, and situations like this where I'm low on ammo are exactly why. Getting an ammo upgrade doesn't just boost your maximum ammo count, it refills your entire pool of ammo, even the BFG later on once you get it. And with the previous few levels not giving us much of a struggle in terms of this challenge, it's absolutely worth saving for a level that does push your limits, as we'll see later on. Moving ahead, some nearby carcasses help me get some free damage on a Mancubus plus some free heat blast charge for a very easy and ammo efficient kill. And the next secret encounter trips me up with yet another Mancubus and carcass, but mostly because this guy jumped all the way up here when he should be down to the pit with all the zombies. So yeah, kinda threw me off my groove there. Not fun to spend twice as much ammo on one single encounter, but it's done. And once it's done, we can grab the chain gun, which will be a very useful tool in this run, and the reason for that will be apparent as soon as we clear out this next room and unlock the side path leading to another weapon mod, this one for the chain gun's energy shield. But we won't see its strengths just yet, since the rest of the level doesn't really give us too much to worry about. The next buff totem arena is pretty unremarkable save for another Caco demon to add to the arbalest mastery, and there's also an empowered Pinky in the goo room. These are optional demons that have a bit more health than normal ones, but thankfully drop ammo on death. So a bit of a teaser for things to come as we melt it down with full auto and watch this Dread Knight melt away into the wall for some reason. There's this really weird encounter with a Spectre Pinky here where I try to whittle it down into full auto range, hit it with a full auto shot, but don't get a point towards my mastery. I've never seen that happen before. Maybe my gun wasn't spun up all the way? I don't know. Anyway, the last fight of the arena is just a bunch of Arachnotrons who we're well used to by this point, and all that leaves is the Slayer Gate, which of course they save for the very end of the level now that I'm starting to get hungry for ammo again. So hungry in fact that we have to break out the energy shield for the first time. Not only does having the base shield up block incoming damage, but the real strength of this mod for this challenge comes from the shield bash. Dashing into enemies with the shield up will deal a good chunk of damage to them and guarantee a falter, all without consuming any ammo whatsoever and being on a relatively short cooldown. It's a powerful tool that I only don't use as often as I should because I have my chain gun bound to the semi out of the way B key, and because I'm so not used to using the energy shield in normal playthroughs because it's so broken that I think it's kind of lame and boring, but I need it here since I'm so low on ammo. This Slayer Gate is really the pinnacle of the challenge so far, because what we have for ammo laying around on the ground here is what we get for the whole fight, so we'd better hope it's enough. And our first time around it's not, but that's mostly because I didn't have an ice bomb ready to use on this Pinky after using it on the last one, and I was looking for an opening to get some full auto shots in while the surrounding demons just took very successful pot shots at me. Next time around I'm playing far more efficiently, using the shield bash to rack up lots of glory kills, and primarily dealing damage with one of my strongest ammo-less tools, the Blood Punch. The punch and shockwave are often damaging enough to put multiple demons into glory kill range, allowing me to chain blood punches together for massive damage. And as a bonus, I'm even able to get mastery points off of both Pinkies that spawn in this fight. It's not an easily won fight, and I had to think hard about each approach and even almost died when my shield ran out earlier than expected, but overall, 2 tries for a decently tough Slayer Gate and almost no ammo going in is a pretty good showing, I think. All that leaves is the final escape and the big barbecue boom to finish off this level and take us into Ark Complex. This is another level heavy on explosive barrels, but as we just saw in Super Gore Nest, that's not a guarantee that we won't struggle with ammo. The opening hallway here gives me a bit of a chance to take advantage of that, but there's enough ammo laying around that I feel pretty comfortable just blowing everyone away. Same goes for the next little section here, but it's really the pinky I'm after as I'm getting very close to my mastery. The carcasses and shotgunners make it very easy to clear out big groups of demons with only a few plasma shots and get me a suit point for a challenge in the process. So far this level is feeling generous enough on ammo that even by the time we get to the outdoor arena with all the purple goo, I feel confident enough in my ammo count that I don't mind blowing away a Dread Knight with a lock-on rocket burst. And thankfully, Cybermancubi are a lot easier to deal with in terms of ammo expenditure than they are in 2016, since they now have a new weakness with the Blood Punch that leaves them pretty easy to kill afterwards. After a quick and dirty meat hook to grab the key in the middle of a likewise quick and dirty fight, we head into the Slayer Gate. This gate does force you to go up against 3 different kinds of super heavies with Cyber Demons, Barons, and a Doom Hunter, but everything else is pretty tame and mostly just Blood Punch fuel to make whittling down the big guys a lot easier. Especially when I can abuse the hell out of the Shield Bash and rack up damage to work towards that mastery. And with the explosive barrels and ammo pickups all over the place, this gate really isn't too bad to deal with. All I have to do to get the Shield Mastery is deal damage while the shield is up, and that includes Shield Bash damage. So just bonking this empowered Hell Knight over and over again is definitely a big help and an appreciated top off. But the good luck starts to run out when I find myself running low on plasma and bullet ammo after doing the secret encounter with our first Pain Elemental. They're not too bad if you 2-tap them with the Arbalest, but the little shimmy dash they do can make that easier said than done. And cleaning up the rest of this fight burns up those ammo reserves, which is very unfortunate, since even though the shield consumes no ammo, unlike the Super Shotgun's meat hook, you can't use the shield when you're out of bullets. Thankfully, I've still got plenty of shotgun ammo, certainly more than enough for another pinky, and a barrel up ahead at least gives me a bit more ammo to chew on. It'll have to be enough for the kitchen fight, which has the chance of being one of the most ammo efficient fights if we play our cards right. There's barrels all over the place as well as the game's only Berserk power-up, letting us instantly kill any demon we want with a single click and no ammo. But there's a right and a wrong time to use Berserk, and I unfortunately picked the wrong time. I want to use it as the Whiplashes are about to spawn in, but there's still a Pinky on the field who I don't want to kill without full auto, and it seems like killing him was the trigger to get the Whiplashes to spawn, so bad timing on my part. But despite some close calls, we pull through on the first try, and our reward at the end is well worth it. One Pinky later, and we have the full auto mastery of Salvo Extender, and now we've beaten the challenge. Yeah, I've been hyping up this mastery for a damn good reason. Anytime you kill a demon with the full auto mod, they'll drop shotgun ammo, the amount of which corresponds to the class of demon you killed. Fodder enemies drop 3 ammo, heavy demons drop 7 ammo, and super heavies will drop 11 ammo. With this, it's very easy to effectively have infinite shotgun ammo since there's always going to be fodder enemies in an arena since the game is expecting you to be able to chainsaw them to refill your ammo, and you can one-tap the vast majority of those to get easy shotgun shell profits. There's a bit more nuance for the harder fights, but the full auto shotgun is the only reason we'll even be able to beat this challenge at all, so get used to seeing it. I do wish I got to use it a bit more with the haste power up here, but if you pick up a power up in Doom Eternal and no one's around to see it, does it make a sound? The biggest downside of this mod is that if you run out of shotgun ammo and there's no shotgun ammo pickup or barrel around, you're screwed until you find another one. Something that almost ends up happening here, which really makes me pause and think about how to continue. And even when it's over and done with, not having a blood punch ready for the Cybermancubus doesn't make my ammo problems any easier. Same goes for the Goo Knight. I was really hoping to blood punch him to get him off my back, but I had to mag dump him just to not die. The secret encounter up ahead is pretty easy, and the Mancubus is a good piñata full of delicious buckshot candies. And the parking garage is up next. The cue balls honestly do just as good a job as cleaning up some of the big guys as full auto does. I don't usually take advantage of them too often, but I won't complain about dealing some seriously meaty damage with a single shot. And once that's done, we finally get a quad damage power up with Salvo Extender, and seeing that many ammo drops in just a few shots is just so beautiful. Brings a tear to the eye. Before I finish off the level, I have to fast travel back to a Sentinel Crystal I missed. Thank God I remembered, otherwise I'd have even less ammo going forward. And then it's time to fight the Marauder. Yeah, it's really easy and I totally style on him. I don't know what anyone expected at this point. If I had no ammo left, this might be a different story, but as long as I had shotgun ammo, my victory was assured anyway, so it doesn't matter. On to the next one. The first few minutes of Mars Core are just an absolute onslaught of demons being shoved in your face, and it gives us plenty of time to show off the utility of each of our tools. With full auto ripping through the fodder and less healthy heavy demons, the shield bash helping to make quick work of this Baron, grenades and blood punch being especially useful against the crowds in the first outdoor arena, and that plus some explosive barrels leaves us completely stocked up on ammo. So we get to go nuts on the pain elemental with a few well-placed arbalest shots, lock on rocket the Dread Knight, and do a bit more full auto action on anyone else who gets in our way. And speaking of in our way, that whole Mars thing is a bit of an eyesore, so let's just take care of that. There we go. And even though the game really wants us to use the BFG here, I can't say no to loads of free Caco demons for more Arbalest mastery points. Okay, maybe one BFG shot for fun. Outside of even more Caco demons, the next arena with the buff totem demonstrates a tactic that we'll be utilizing a lot for the rest of the game, which is to do a lot of initial damage with our grenades and super shotgun, and then clean up everything with full auto, effectively going through an entire arena while spending as little ammo as possible. I find it kind of hilarious that so many of Doom Eternal's critics hate the chainsaw because they just want to spam the super shotgun over and over again, but that's exactly the best strategy for playing the game without the chainsaw in the first place. At least as long as you don't mind using full auto as a finisher, which I certainly don't. I think it's fun. The next two secret encounters are both pretty easy and more or less back to back, nothing too crazy here. And then a couple more Cacos later, it's time for the Mars Core arena that gave me the most hell last time. The double Baron fight with the terrain hazards. Well, as it turns out, now that I can dash around more often, have total air control, can bonk them into a state of total despair with my shield, and I can recharge my equipment way faster, it turns out that killing two Barons in a relatively small arena with electrical doohickeys on the ground isn't that difficult after all. How fucking crazy! Even though I did the no upgrades run first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to upload that one before this one just because the stakes felt so much higher there, and the combat this time around is so much less of a pain in the ass. But now at least you can see what I was missing out on in that run. Like weapon mastery, such as our new instant salvo for the Arbalest, which starts recharging the Arbalest instantly if you hit an enemy with a direct hit. So very useful for quickly taking out pain elementals in particular. Though giant fuck-off barrels do the job just as well. Another Sentinel Crystal gives us our final health upgrade, and then it's off to the Slayer Gate. This fuck-ass gate that gave me so much trouble in the no upgrades video, just like the double Baron encounter, is taken care of on my first try in less than 2 minutes. I think that video very likely gave people the impression that I'm just bad at Doom Eternal, which is a fair assumption to make when you die 200 times in a single playthrough, but I hope this performance does something to convince you that the odds were stacked very much so against me, and I'm actually not complete dog shit at this game, especially when the only thing holding me back is ammo count, and this gate is generous enough to provide me with Maker drones to kill. The final arena of the level puts up a bit more in the way of resistance, but not by much, and we're also able to get the energy shield mastery, which allows us to launch a faltering projectile after absorbing or dealing enough damage with the shield up. And then one BFG shot later to deal with all the Cacos, and we're on to Sentinel Prime to deal with the Gladiator. Thankfully, I don't struggle with this guy nearly as much as I did in the no upgrades challenge, but it is still one of the harder fights in the game for me, though I only die to him 2 times, so that's still not saying much. My first attempt goes pretty smoothly. I work my way through his first phase, but a lot of my ballista shots don't stagger him even when I hit him during the counter window. But even with that being the case, we still get through his first phase on our first try and head into his second phase. He really likes doing the double dutch attack this time around. He's borderline spamming it here, and I actually hit a pretty sick counter with the energy shield's projectile. I don't think I've ever hit that before. The counter when he does this charge attack has always felt the least consistent to me, so I usually just dodge out of the way, but this gave me hope that maybe I found a new way to consistently stagger him here. Nope, I try it 2 more times and pay the price for it both times. And he even bashes straight through my shield to instantly kill me for good measure here. I didn't know he could do that. Attempt number 2 isn't all that noteworthy. I kinda just eat a combo at a bad time and end up dying for it, and we managed to bring him down on attempt number 3. I don't exactly play the most optimally here. Throughout the first phase, I'm mostly just firing precision bolts at him, and then as his health goes down, I try to work in some combos, but get get a little too focused on getting blood punch and health through glory kills that I'm just not able to secure. I once again managed to stagger him in the middle of his double dutch charge attack with some rockets, even though I tried it multiple times throughout both attempts with multiple weapons to no effect. I'm sure someone will tell me what I'm doing wrong here. People were quick to do that with the Cyber Demon fight in 2016. Well, one more grenade and blood punch later, he finally goes down. Way to keep your head in the game, me. With that done, we can now head to what might just be the hardest normal level for this challenge.
The great city of Taras Nabad.
Well, if it's so great, where the hell's all the ammo? Yeah, I don't know what it is about Taras Nabad in particular, but this is one of the most stingy levels in the game when it comes to ammo pickups and explosive barrels. There's almost nothing to work with. Thankfully, the Marauder here comes at the start of the level, so we don't have to worry about wasting all of our ammo before we fight him, even though I do cut it closer than I'd like by trying to be cute with some shield bash damage. And the same is true of our first Archvile, who is relatively easy to take down thanks to our upgraded Ice Bomb and Lock-on rockets. And that just leaves his summons, which are easy pickings for full auto. We pick up a mastery token, which allows us to bypass mastery challenges on upgraded weapons, and I use it on the Destroyer Blade since using it at full power just to get the mastery is a massive waste of ammo. And the incremental blade might be useful against carcasses in particular in the future. Being the idiot that I am, I decided to do the secret encounter here after I've basically used up all my plasma ammo, meaning this pain elemental is a lot more of a pain in the ass to take down. I make it, but just barely, and I don't think the ammo spent was worth the effort. Thankfully, there's an empowered Pinky just around the corner for me to at least get some ammo back from. I'll take all the help I can get, especially for the fight that's coming, which ends up being one of the hardest fights I've had to face so far. The ammo count in this level is already feeling pretty Spartan, and now we're up against what's already a pretty tough arena that I've seen plenty of people struggle with even without this concession. And the fact that I made it out of this fight is a miracle. You can see what is probably the biggest nuance of this challenge in action here as we go up against multiple Cybermancubi at once. Glory killing the first Cybermancubus gives us a free blood punch to use against the second one, but using full auto against it will give us more ammo to continue the fight. And both of these are extremely powerful tools, so I have to make the choice in the moment on which one I want. And even though I make the call to go for ammo, it doesn't matter as I actually run out of shotgun ammo in this fight. A serious worst case scenario. Luckily, I'm able to pull off probably the sickest grenade trick shot I've ever done into the mouth of this Cacodemon, so I can blood punch the Doom Hunter, and with one bullet left to my name in the chain gun, I bash him into submission to secure the kill and beat the arena. But I've left myself in a bad position for what's to come. Thankfully, there are respawning ammo packs in the underwater puzzle segments that I can use to get more bullets, but unfortunately, that's still on a timer until I run out of it. So if I want to replenish my shotgun ammo, there's only one place to get it, and that's the hardest Slayer gate in the game. I'm not gonna lie to you, this one took a few tries, and it mostly involves, once again, the Archvile and Pain Elemental combo at the beginning. Trying to multitask grabbing the proper ammo, avoiding the Pain Elemental's attacks, and killing the Archvile as fast as possible is not as easy as you might be led to believe if you're one of the chosen few who can see at a higher frame rate than I can. Even when I do manage to kill the Archvile on my next go around, prioritizing ammo over health leads to my demise against this Arachnotron who I underestimated. And then I die on the Prowler phase of all things because I'm trying to line up a bunch of them for a big blood punch chain combo, only to get comboed myself in the process. 2 tries in a row end at the Archvile, once because the energy shield is good, but not really good for dealing with the Archvile since it has ground-based attacks and doesn't easily get faltered by the shield bash. And the second because apparently the Archvile can summon a small black hole on his person that prevents me from running away once the Ice Bomb wears off. No idea what happened there. But hey, 6 times the charm. It's a hard-fought victory, but one we eventually managed to achieve, and we have shotgun ammo to farm, which is the really important part. That's the thing about this challenge, is that its difficulty can feel almost binary. It's either so imperceptible that there may as well not even be a challenge at all, or else it's so difficult to the point where you might just honest to God softlock yourself. And trust me when I say that even though Taras Nabad has been bad with us so far, the game has far worse in store for us. There's a few more hurdles for us to deal with before this level finally starts to give us a break. The first of which is the small arena that throws a Baron and another Archvile at you. Thankfully, after a blood punch, a grenade, and a lot of bonking, an empowered Hell Knight goes down for a little bit of a boost right as the Baron arrives. I have to be seriously stingy about my ammo, but with enough running around, a bit more bonking, and enough buckshot lodged in the Archvile's sternum, we just managed to pull through, and we didn't even need the BFG, which I was very proud of myself for. So after yanking my shaft, there's yet another Marauder fight where the threat doesn't necessarily come from the act of fighting the Marauder himself, but once again juggling multiple tasks at once, where I'm trying to stock up on ammo while killing a Whiplash, Dread Knight, multiple Prowlers, dodging all their attacks, and wiping them all out one by one so I can do the extremely fun task of playing Ring Around the Rosie with one of the game's most notorious enemies so I can farm shotgun shells off of zombies until I have a sufficient enough stockpile that I actually feel comfortable engaging him. If you think this looks especially fun and not at all tedious, you're absolutely going to love how this run ends. One Pain Elemental is the worst thing this next fight has to offer, but thankfully the Pinkies and Prowlers have such low health compared to other heavy demons that killing them is effectively free shotgun ammo, which makes taking it down not so big of a deal. The next fight I get into has probably the best empowered demon to run into with a Kako demon, and this is great because even when empowered, they still only take one sticky bomb to kill with a shot in the mouth, so it's easily the most ammo efficient of the empowered bunch. Unfortunately, I do end up once again running out of shotgun ammo after I underestimate how many shots it'll take to kill this Frozen Pain Elemental. So now of course I have to improvise and just barely manage to scrape my way through. Thankfully though, I couldn't have picked a better time to completely run out of ammo, as I happened to do so immediately before this level Sentinel Crystal graciously tops me off and boosts my ammo count. Thank God. So now I can pick up my Chuck E. Cheese token and move on to the last few fights of the level. It feels pretty damn good to let loose with all my guns now that I have them all back and ready to use at a moment's notice, but I'm still being cautious and finishing off as many demons as I can with full auto. And after another mastery token, which I use on micro missiles, this will be important later, we can really let loose with our newly formed Crucible Blade. I'll gladly take an insta-kill option against giant enemies that doesn't require the chainsaw to refuel, even if it does also come with limited charges. But my guns have been feeling neglected enough this level that I can't in good conscience slice everything in front of me to ribbons, so I saved the blade for the big boys and let my small arms have the rest of the fun. They've earned a victory lap for getting through this level, and so have I as we finally grab the Unmaker. It's not going to be as useful this time around as it was before, but we'll still be pulling it out every now and then. Now it's on to Necroval. After the ball busting that was Taurus Nabad, Necroval 1 is a nice change of pace. Clearing out the first few demons is no sweat, and rewards us with a much earlier Sentinel Crystal than we got in Taurus Nabad, so that's nice. Taking care of the guys in this hallway isn't too bad either, and wow, look, there's actually ammo pickups in this level. That's a load off my shoulders. And a quad damage too. Necroval 1, you simply spoil me. Maybe I didn't give this level enough credit in the last run. How can I say no to damage like that? The Baron down in the pit here seems downright terrified of my energy shield, and for good reason. I still prefer if he got the hell over here though. Also, I got my neck stuck in the top of the little hell carriage thingy. I'm like a kid getting my head stuck in between the post and the banister. Not that I ever did that. Anyway, once again, the giant eyeball brain turns out to be more of a challenge than I anticipated, because I swear they just made the fire damage hurt more. Am I crazy or something? Was it always this bad, or did I just get worse at avoiding it in my old age? Anyway, I cut things close the next time around, but I still push in the big soft spot in the end. We have a few more goobers to fight though in the big squisher room before we can get another mastery token, this one going on Precision Bolt. Not the most useful mastery outside of fodder groups, but ammo efficiency is ammo efficiency. Things get a little sticky in the next crusher room where I miss way too many sticky bombs against this Kako demon, but once I take him out, everyone else is full auto fodder outside of the Archvile upstairs who I'm able to take down with a nice combo. And then I turn the remaining heavies into delicious strawberry jam. No skin off my bones if I don't have to spend yet another blood punch on a Cybermancubus. There's no giant demonic hydraulic press to save me from the next Cybermancubus, but I'll never exactly get tired of mopping the floor with a bunch of demons by full autoing them down. Thank goodness, otherwise this challenge would absolutely suck. You know, more than it already will. Against the Marauder and Whiplash, the Whiplash doesn't even get a chance to attack me before it turns into cryogenically frozen chunks of county fair rattlesnake meat. And after that, a counter is enough to open up a window to full auto the Marauder soon after. That just leaves the last arena of the level, and it's one that I struggle with not because of the ammo constraints, but mostly because I forgot that I was standing on a fire hazard at the worst possible time against the last demon I had to kill. Next time around is way easier. I barely struggle with it at all, and I'm definitely feeling very in the zone right now. I know the next level will restock my ammo, so I don't even mind blowing it all on mag dumping the final remaining demons, and it works out just fine, so we can get a move on. Necroval 2 is even shorter than the first time around. Not much to note in the intro once you get past the Pain Elemental and all the Kako demons flying around. We do get our final Sentinel Crystal here, meaning our ammo count is as good as it's gonna get, which is a big relief going forward, but it also means we can't stock up if things get too dicey. The fight in the blue room with the haste power-up kind of ends up falling into a similar trap as the last time we got a haste power-up back at Arc Complex. As soon as I get it, the only demons I can abuse it against are shitty little fodder demons who I would probably just mag dump anyway. But I will say, I've gotten into a really solid groove here, and I think my gameplay in this fight demonstrates that quite well. I'm kind of just hopping along from one super heavy to the next, ready to combo them into the Stone Age and turn their souls into shotgun shells, and it feels good. I'm in a really nice flow state here. And that carries over into the next big blue room fight. The Archvile doesn't even get a chance to teleport away from me before I absolutely obliterate him, and I'm in such a groove by this point that I don't even recognize the Marauder as a Marauder and think he's just some other demon I can swing off of to keep my momentum going. Well, a solid barrage of micro missiles later, I don't really know if this particular Marauder is exactly beating the just some other demon allegations. How embarrassing. Genuinely such an underrated mod to use against these guys. I don't know why this technique isn't more popular. The guys on the way up the big elevator don't put up that much more of a fight, and that just leaves the eyeballs being babysat by the Dread Knight before the final battle of the level. And we cut it a little close there, but it's not a big deal. The final battle itself is a bit of a doozy. Starting off against a Cyber Demon while low on rockets isn't a great start, but a barrage of micro missiles is enough to turn him into micro-sized minced meat. I'm not especially worried about my ammo count now that it's the final fight of the level, so I even let loose a slightly charged Destroyer Blade, which helps take down some otherwise tough enemies. The Baron here almost gets me, but I just barely managed to pull through and come out on top of that exchange, only leaving a Doom Hunter who gets comboed to death so quickly that I don't even get the opportunity to glory kill him. That just leaves 2 levels left to go. So after a cutscene that I have a lot more context for now that I've played Revelations, one might say I've had some revelations of my own, we can get started on the penultimate level of Urdak. And in terms of this particular challenge, this may be one of the easiest levels in the entire game, for the sole reason that this level is filled with Maker Drones, who drop more health and ammo than you could possibly need in one go upon dying. This is obviously not only great for topping yourself off, but also for filling up your blood punch so you can deal shitloads of damage without needing to spend too much ammo, something I'm more than happy to take advantage of in this first arena, where I wall up the Cyber Mancubus and even throw out a fully charged Destroyer Blade shot just for the hell of it. Cause who cares, I'll get it right back in like 5 seconds. Same goes for the room with the punchable statue and the Pain Elemental. Big deal if I miss an Arbalest or two, I can shoot as many as I want. The challenge we're doing is so irrelevant here that I don't even really need to talk about any of the arenas in detail. So I think I'll view this as a bit of a breather before the end to talk about my thoughts on the chainsaw in Eternal while the Urdak fights play in the background. I really don't hate its implementation in the way that Doom Eternal's biggest detractors do, and I think it was very healthy for encouraging players to play Eternal the way the devs want you to play it, but I still don't think its implementation was perfect. The fact that the chainsaw is your #1 means of getting ammo back means that every arena, including boss fights, needs to have some kind of fodder enemy, usually a zombie, that kind of just stands there waiting for you to chainsaw them, and that can feel a bit off. You may as well just have respawning ammo packs or something. That makes about as much sense, and it's not like Doom Eternal of all games is ashamed of how video gamey that would be. The animations can also get quite repetitive since there's only so many fodder demons that you'll inevitably see the same ones over and over again. And you rarely get a chance to actually use it against the heavy enemies whose chainsaw animations are a lot more uncommonly seen unless you're actively saving up chainsaw fuel for them. So I can understand that as a minor annoyance, even if it's one I'm able to overlook since I see the time spent chainsawing as not not only a means of effectively reloading all of my weapons at once, but also taking a moment to take a quick breath and assess the situation. I actually think the system used in Dark Ages is far better in terms of fixing all the problems that people have with the chainsaw, where it's your melee attack that replenishes your ammo. A lot of people complain about the fact that the melee attack in Eternal does basically no damage outside of the blood punch, which I think is a decently fair complaint, though even in 2016 when the pistol whip actually did damage, I never felt too incentivized to use it. And it's not like having your fists out was the optimal play in classic Doom unless you had a Berserk power-up. I think it was mostly just the fact that Eternal's fist damage is so comically pathetic. But Dark Ages buffed up the fists to the point where they're actually a contender for the best melee weapon in the game, with their fast recharge, and the issue of repetition doesn't feel nearly as bad when you're using the gauntlets to perform absurdly damaging combos. And all melee weapons also have the chainsaw's utility of replenishing ammo upon hit, so I think that was just a good fusion of the two systems. I'm not sure if it would be a perfect fit for Eternal, just because that could potentially interfere with the blood punch, which I really like as a mechanic, but ultimately, part of the reason I did this challenge at all was to prove that the chainsaw really isn't as overwhelming of a presence in Doom Eternal as many of its most vocal critics would say it is, considering for most of the game, I've barely felt pressured to use it at all. Granted, the necessity of the chainsaw is going to change very soon, but only after this boss fight with the Khan Maker. It goes super easily. Boosted micro missiles do insane damage to her, and it's very easy to pepper down the Maker drones with a few headshots, and that's enough to refill my entire volley every single time, and boost the damage to really put the hurt on this bitch. There's some phases that go so fast she doesn't even manage to get an attack off. Micro missiles might just be the most underrated weapon mod in the game. Too bad they chew through ammo so fast, or I'd demonstrate that a lot more in this challenge. And speaking of challenge, our hardest one yet awaits us in the final level. I wish I could say that our hardest challenge was some especially tough arena or something totally unexpected, but not this time around. It's exactly what you think it is. Not to say that the other arenas don't put up a good fight though. This first one once again runs me out of shotgun ammo because I'm an idiot and think, oh yeah, I know how much health Barons of Hell should have. Thank God there's a shotgun ammo pickup in this arena or I'd be screwed. Apparently he was one grenade away from being at the actual amount of health that I thought he was supposed to be at. My mistake. The Cyber Demon goes down after a very lengthy combo, though I don't get the full auto finisher that I was hoping for, so I'll have to do that on the Doom Hunter. Luckily, they're super easy to full auto down once you break their sled. I just have to clean up some fodder to make sure I have enough shells by the time I finish them off. I'm trying my hardest to primarily use full auto for the smaller incidental encounters on the way over to the boss, but sometimes doing so can drag the fights out and leave me looking a lot worse for wear in terms of health and armor. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet and use weapons that aren't so easy to get ammo back on to butter them up for the finisher, but the moments where the combos don't cost you much and still heavily profit from full auto finishes are very satisfying. Pretty much the only thing noteworthy about this little outdoor arena is what probably ends up being our fastest and safest Marauder kill so far, no doubt due in part to the fact that we can stack 2 blood punches now. Thanks for finally being useful, Khan Maker, you trick-ass bitch. And I'm very happy to put that ability to use in the big arena with all the Cyber Demons. That said, it's during this arena where I'm really starting to feel the push and pull of the glory kill versus full auto finisher nuance. It's made so much worse by the fact that the bigger demons that grant instant blood punches also give you the most ammo for a finisher. And when I accidentally overkill the super heavies, that doesn't leave me much to work with for either of my options. Well, thankfully a stray Kaiko demon helps ease those concerns and gives me some much needed blood punches just in time for the buff totem to spawn, which I don't have a hard time reaching at all. I try my best to be as ammo efficient as possible as I pepper down some fodder enemies to get blood punches to deal the bulk of my damage to these guys, and thankfully it works, as I finish them off back to back relatively easily and get a full refill of shotgun ammo for my troubles. Just upstairs, I finally learned my lesson in how much damage a Baron ought to take before he dies. You can actually see and hear the gears turning in my brain in real time as I decide, hey, wait a minute, maybe I should shoot it a bit more. And then I do. Good job me. What's not a good job is my performance in this next arena, the really tough one that forced me to use the BFG in the last challenge. But trust me when I say it's not nearly as bad as last time. I mostly fail here because I'm prioritizing getting as much ammo back as possible instead of clearing out the demons, which isn't a great play and gets me cornered and killed here. I do just fine on my third time around though. Heading up to the second floor and letting the demons come to you until the numbers get too overwhelming really is the best strategy here. Though not a perfect one, as I do still come pretty close to dying at one point. Not against our final Marauder though, as the main concern there is honestly just all the little goobers throwing projectiles everywhere, making him constantly block and dodge all over the place. They're lucky they're all little sacks of health and ammo, or I'd be very cross with them. Well, after crossing the bridge and one final empowered Dread Knight later for the road, we finally meet our biggest obstacle, and without question, the hardest fight we've ever faced. The Icon of Sin. What a big, fat bastard this guy is. So the problem here should be immediately obvious. This is a pretty enclosed, very finite arena with only so many ammo pickups, and we have the illustrious task of tearing down a giant demonic wall of health, armor, and flesh after just making our way through the entire level beforehand, just in case we felt a bit too prepared. The BFG is our one saving grace here. I've been good about not using it for most of the game, but here is the exception to that, and even then, it does not guarantee us a victory, especially when we need to save the 2 shots we can hold in the reserve for Phase 2. The worst part about this fight is not necessarily the Icon himself, though that is a solid part of it since his enormous health pool and potential to stuff your shots with his already destroyed armor or body parts is about as fun to deal with as his ridiculously massive attacks that do shitloads of damage. No, the worst part are his summons, more specifically, his lack of useful ones. Most of the Icon summons are just designed to be dangerous. Barons, Pain Elementals, Dread Knights. It's damn faint praise when Carcasses and Cyber Mancubi are some of the best things you can run into since they're at least easy enough to drop to low health for an easy full auto top off. Each group of summons has a different kind of fodder demon, but they're not always the most frequently spawning or the most reliable. If you're on the summon wave that has mecha zombies as your fodder enemies, that's really rough since their health is high enough to be a 2-shot in the most generous of circumstances. Which is to say, when you're not being fired down upon and punched to death by a giant armored goat monster. The most reliable ones to full auto are the 3 zombies that always spawn directly in front of the big guy himself, which isn't the best position to be in, especially since it can very frequently be completely ablaze. None of this would be a problem if we just had more ammo, but we have to do the thing where we do the bulk of our damage with the super shotgun, run around getting more ammo from fodder demons, and then rinse and repeat while trying to dodge as many attacks as possible. And this strategy gets less and less reliable the more health the enemy has, and the longer the fight goes on for. I think this fight is already hard enough as it stands, but now my damage output is absolutely pathetic because I have to spend so much of my time effectively reloading, and that's just time for both the Icon and his ads to kill me again, and again, and again, which gets more and more frustrating the closer and closer I get to finally taking him out of this phase. I die 7 times before I finally get a run lucky enough to make it into Phase 2. I start off by blasting 3 of his body parts with the BFG to instantly destroy them. I can't do any more than that because I need as much ammo as possible for Phase 2. After that, I try to shoot his armpit with the rocket since that deals damage to both his upper arm and his chest piece with the splash damage at the same time. That and the smell of burning high ordnance explosives is also preferable to his Wicked Gamer armpit stank. I do a similar move on his other arm by shooting in his elbow cleavage with a barrage of boosted micro missiles, which do really solid damage to the Icon, but I can't rely on them too much due to the limited ammo. Trying to follow up on it doesn't work out when he's doing his big wind-up punch. His remaining forearm is his healthiest body part and needs multiple ballista and super shotgun hits to go down, but luckily, the rest of his body parts are damaged enough that I can whittle them down without much issue, taking us into Phase 2. Now I have enough BFG rounds around the arena to instantly destroy 5 of his body parts, almost always the head, 2 chest pieces, and the stomach. The 5th shot is honestly a crapshoot. The arms are very difficult to hit with the slow-moving BFG projectile, so I honestly mostly consider it insurance for if I miss one of the major body parts. Unfortunately, on this first attempt, even though I do get lucky and manage to snag his arm as he's swinging it, my final 2 shots only connect on already destroyed areas, and I don't last long after that thanks to a stray whiplash. You've gotta understand how long this took, because it's not like each attempt only lasted a few seconds. No, I got several minutes into each attempt before eventually being worn down. I spent over an hour just on this one boss fight alone, with most of it being in phase 2, which should be the easier phase since I have more BFG shots to take out more of his health, but I am starved for ammo on everything else, and all I can do is the shotgun cycle. My shortest attempt was one where I just let myself die on purpose because I once again whiffed 2 very important BFG shots. The most painful attempts are the ones long enough that give you hope that maybe, just maybe, you might actually be able to pull through, only for the rug to get yanked out from under you. This run lasted for 10 straight minutes, and I get so close to whittling him down, only for me to get pummeled by meteors because I'm so desperate for ammo. But the run after that is even worse. This one only took 6 minutes, primarily because I got lucky and hit all 5 of my BFG shots. Yeah, hitting one of those shots is the difference between full minutes in this fight. You can see why I just killed myself for missing 2. I batter down 2 of his remaining body parts, and all that leaves is his right shoulder. And I'm heartbreakingly close to finally putting this to bed when a whiplash comes up and corners me, and I shoot it with the super shotgun to get it out of my face by pure reflex, only to realize the gravity of my mistake. I am completely out of ammo, and I've used all the ammo pickups in the arena while the icon is at a sliver of health. It is possible to deal damage to the icon with your grenades, but I never get the chance to find out if his shoulder is in my range as I die soon after. But that was my 8th and final death to the icon's second phase. My winning attempt actually has me hit the icon's arms with 2 of my BFG shots instead of his chest pieces, which works out just fine for me since his fat man titties are way easier to hit. The icon feels especially relentless this time around. I feel like I'm constantly under attack when on previous attempts it felt like I had a lot more of a window to react. So getting my hits in to eventually destroy his remaining left arm is a lengthy process. I just have to be patient. And the same goes for his meaty man pec and his remaining shoulder. The best thing I can do is use the super shotgun's wide spread to my advantage and aim between both body parts to hit both at once. It's not even close to easy, and I almost lose this attempt to some very unfortunate meteors, but a blood punch on some frozen ads brings me back from the brink, and with a few more well-placed super shotgun blasts, I take out both of his final parts at once and finish the fight. One more stab in the brain with a weapon that is decidedly not the chainsaw proves that you can indeed beat Doom Eternal without ever using the chainsaw once, as long as you're willing to sacrifice a bit of your humanity against the icon of sin. On the whole, that run was a lot easier than the no upgrades run, but when it got hard, it felt so much harder. Even if I didn't have any of the busted weapon mods I was so happy to abuse in this run, I at the very least had access to all of my weapons at all times. The no upgrades run was more of a steep incline of pain, while this one was more of a roller coaster that dropped you off a cliff at the very end. But overall, outside of that one final battle, not too bad, and we can finally put this run behind us. But you know, nothing's really stopping us from doing the same challenge in Ancient Gods Part 1, right? I mean, it's just more of the same really, but even harder and without the Crucible, which I only use in its designated arena and against the icon anyway, so how much am I really missing it? And hey, no grinding for masteries this time around. It's just 3 levels of pure action and carnage. So now it's time to find out if I can beat Doom Eternal and its most notoriously difficult DLC without using the chainsaw. So like 5 seconds into UAC Atlantica, I die. This ain't even the hard part of the DLC. I just recorded this on a different day and had to grease the old hinges a bit. I'm not the spry youth I once was, 5 years ago. Something I noticed going through the main campaign and DLC back to back and trying to take note of all the combat and the footage was how much more of an emphasis the DLC puts on smaller incidental encounters. It makes sense since there's a lot less exploring and secret hunting to do, so the main way you break the pace of the big combat set pieces is smaller combat set pieces. I won't be covering every single one of these for the sake of brevity, but just know that in between all the big challenging arena fights, there's going to be several smaller ones in between that are steadily soaking up all of my ammo. Thankfully, UAC Atlantica is quite generous with its ammo pickups and explosive barrels, especially in this first area here. Though maybe that's because as you go back and forth from the outside area to the interior again, these areas get used for multiple different fights each, so it's almost more like one big long fight with keycard collecting in the middle. I will say, for all the fighting I've been doing, I haven't been struggling with ammo too much, and I think those concerns will be even less relevant now that we're introduced to turrets. These are another enemy type that drops ammo upon death. And since these guys are most easily taken out with 2 sticky bombs, a mod that takes from our only pool of effectively infinite ammo, running into these things is one of the most profitable encounters we can come across. Thankfully, even though this DLC is notorious for its difficulty, a lot of the tried and true tricks still work here, like buttering up big groups of demons with a grenade to make them a lot easier to mow down, which helps us get through the first phase of this arena. But I know that the second phase is going to be a lot less forgiving, especially when it spawns multiple barons at the same time. The thing is, I know that they're coming, I just don't know exactly when they're coming, which causes me to blow through the quad damage power up just a bit too early. I really should save this thing for when I actually see the bastards on my screen. I managed to get through them just fine, but this encounter is of course immediately followed up on by a marauder fight, which will not be the last one in this level alone. They really want you to get used to fighting these guys again for what's to come at the end of the level. Really, the worst part of this fight for me is that I just barely missed getting the full auto finisher on him. Oh well. I've thankfully played this DLC enough times that I've committed most encounters to memory, even if it's a bit hazy, so of course I remember the Archvile in a narrow passage flanked by 2 carcasses. One semi-charged destroyer blade and a quick combo takes care of those guys, and I get that super heavy ammo back, so not too bad. Thankfully there's a turret just before this arena, so even though I have to burn through 2 barons and a lot of other heavy hitters, my ammo reserves ain't looking too bad. And the arena's even nice enough to give me a couple of Kako demons that give me the 2 blood punches I need to cripple the Doom Hunter to the point of absolute uselessness. One marauder later, who I do get the finisher on, we come to an arena that's not so generous with its fodder demon selection, since shield guys and mecha zombies are both annoying to full auto down. But the arena makes up for it with a good selection of ammo pickups and another quad damage power up that I learned my lesson from and only use when I can actually see the Baron and Cyber Demon on screen. Okay, this next incidental fight is one I wouldn't bother showing even though I cut it really close against this empowered Mancubus, but I have to show it to you because I very nearly got soft locked on it. Look at this shit. I'm minding my own business, wiping everyone out, but I notice a bunch of zombies are still spawning in while I hear Revenant screams, and it turns out the fucker is trapped underwater. For some reason, my bullets and rockets don't actually pass through the water and I can't shoot while swimming. But thank God my grenades can pass through the water and still do damage to this dingus, otherwise I'd have to start the encounter all over again. You really do learn something new about Doom Eternal every day. The next fight is certainly a lot more substantive with a pretty similar demon roster to our last big fight, but I gotta say, this really hasn't been too bad so far. This level on the whole is feeling very generous, especially when they provide a convenient turret at the end of this fight to top you off. Though maybe I spoke too soon about this not being too bad when I end up dying to this cyber demon in a small hallway, but that's mostly just because I underestimated the self-damage of the rocket launcher. I've been playing a bit too much Dark Ages where hitting yourself with the splash damage of the rocket launcher is actually a good thing. Even when I flub my first destroyer blade against this carcass buddy, I still take him down almost effortlessly next time around. Of course, what's not gonna be effortless is the big trailer moment for this DLC, and that's the double Marauder fight at the end of the level. Though I do manage to turn it into a single Marauder fight a lot faster than I expected to. I'm so serious in that melting down Marauders with micro missiles has become one of my favorite ways to beat them. It works really well for the second guy too. Why bother parrying when micro missiles do job just fine? Well, unfortunately, once the real fight starts, that's when I end up dying to completely normal enemies. Mostly because I get caught in this little gap between the platform and the wall. I've never liked little gaps like that in real life. I'm always worried I'll fall in, and now I see that my concerns are totally validated. This fight is an absolute onslaught of demons, and it kind of feels almost like a send-off to traditional Doom Eternal combat before they start going crazy and adding stuff like spirits, which we'll have to worry about a lot in the next level due to how you're meant to dispatch them. Plus, there's another problem related to that we'll very soon be running into. We'll get there when we get there, but for now, we do manage to blitz our way through everything in our path path while running very low on basically every single gun that isn't a shotgun. Thank God for full auto. So we put Sammy Hayden in his weird robot angel body, which immediately starts going south for him, but he's like, hey, don't worry about it. The power of prayer will cure my sickness. So go find God's soul in the blood swamps of hell so I can expedite the whole power of prayer process. Thanks a lot, champ. I guess I can't complain about that since I do like the blood swamps so much, but there is one thing I can complain about. For some fuck-ass reason, your ammo count from the end of the previous level carries over to the beginning of this one. I have no idea why the game is so inconsistent with this. Cultist base to Doom Hunter base are back to back in the same location. Sure, it makes sense enough that he doesn't exactly have time to restock. But Necrovault 1 and 2 are also back to back, and they have the same name for God's sake. And you can get an ammo refill in between them. And now, after Atlantica, where you go back to the Arc Carrier, apparently Doomguy's feeling especially absent-minded today and didn't stock up on ammo, even though he does do this in between the Blood Swamps and the Holt, when we see in the cutscene that there's no time for him to have done so. My brain hurts. I think the only reason I've never seen these inconsistencies mentioned before is because people are actually using the chainsaw like they're supposed to instead of being idiots like me. Well, whatever, we fight off a giant tentacle with nothing but shotgun ammo, and mere minutes after our last encounter with two at once, get attacked by yet another marauder. I actually have a harder time with this guy than the last two, but that's mostly because I'm dodging the hellish pustules of slowing goo, and also because I got jack and shit in the way of ammo, but I still managed to get him. We can grab a new support rune here, and I take the one that gives you a beefy blood punch damage bonus when you're low on health. I won't use it too much right now, but it'll come in very handy later. Taking out a Baron with such low ammo reserves isn't easy, and I've really got to pull out all the tricks in the bag here, but luckily this level is also quite generous with its ammo pickups. And there isn't really a Taurus Nabad equivalent in this DLC. If anything, once we're done here, we're on our way to an Urdak equivalent. And it's a good thing they're handing out so much plasma ammo for what's to come. Giving me a turret right after and before a section in this little stank gas dome section here that can be completed almost entirely with the full auto mod is very kind of the level. Though getting cornered by a Dread Knight and a Kako Demon at the same time, not so much, but you know, that's on me for getting backed into a corner in the first place. It's probably not smart of me to spend a ballista shot on the Mancubus that follows these guys the next time around, but the next section is happy to give me even more plasma ammo that it expects me to use on all the shield guys, which I don't because I have grenades and shotguns that work just fine. And then there's a turret here during this Marauder fight, and for the first time in a long time that I can remember, I die in a straight up 1v1 versus a Marauder. Maybe it's just me looking back at the footage, but this one seems a lot more aggro than usual. I don't know. Next time around he's not so bad, but my muscle memory makes me keep thinking that I have a blood punch ready to go, so I keep uselessly tickling the Marauder in between my shotgun blasts. Gucci Gucci Goo! It's then that we run into our first spirit. I remember the good old days when there was a 50-50 chance that the first possessed demon you ran into was a Baron of Hell. But that's before they nerfed it into this Hell Knight here. The thing with spirits is that killing them isn't necessarily the hard part. I do it here with a boosted micro missiles volley. It's that you have two options for dealing with them once the demon is killed. You either destroy the spirit with the microwave beam, which takes 65 plasma ammo to do so, or you just wait around for the spirit to run out of valid demons to possess, which is not an option here as another Hell Knight spawns in immediately afterwards to demonstrate this mechanic. I could instantly kill it with a burst of lock-on rockets, but I'm low on those and would like to conserve as much ammo as possible. And with how bulky possessed demons are, it's usually best to just ghost bust the spirit instead of letting it continue its haunting spree. That's something we'll have to put to the test in the next big arena, where for the first time outside of the set pieces full of Kako Demons or the Icon of Sin, I let a BFG shot rip. I don't know what my thought process was here outside of the fact that I'm just running low on ammo and want to conserve my plasma ammo for the spirit I know is coming later. I don't blame myself since it's not like this fight is an easy one, but I wish I knew exactly what I was thinking here. The possessed demon this time around is an Arachnotron, so no destroying its turret, and they're not quite as frail as normal, but thankfully I've got micro missiles and shield bonks to spare to take it out pretty quickly, and more than enough plasma ammo to melt down the spirit. And for as much as people hate spirits, this isn't even the hard part of the fight, since we have to deal with two Archviles and a Doom Hunter all at the same time. It's so difficult to take all of these guys out quickly. The Ice Bomb is one of your strongest tools against any of these guys, but you only get one on a lengthy cooldown, and that's assuming you even have the proper ammo to deal with these fuckers in the first place. I don't really, and so that results in a lot of me running around and unfortunately letting the Archviles get a few summons in before I'm finally able to bring them and the Doom Hunter down for the count. This is probably one of my favorite fights in the DLC, but this time around it's just stressful having to manage ammo so carefully like this. On the second path, another one of the DLC's most notorious encounters awaits us with a Marauder under the effects of a currently inaccessible buff totem. Marauders are already fast and aggressive, and this guy just turns that up to 11, so I'm not messing around with this guy. Ordinarily I'd use the Ballista for this combo, but I know another Spirit is coming up, so rockets will have to do. And they do, but unfortunately once I run into that possessed Hell Knight, I run around looking for a fodder enemy to kill to boost my micro missiles for so long that by the time I finally end up killing him, a Mancubus has already spawned behind me and beans me with a couple of fireballs. Disheartening. Ordinarily I just lock-on burst this guy to death, but with one rocket to my name, that's not really an option. So I kinda have to just go in raw with some regular micro missiles, which do the job just fine and gives me a bit of breathing room against the Mancubus and his imps. Thankfully, a couple of turrets up ahead give me a few more rockets to work with, and I do end up needing them against yet another possessed Arachnotron and his Doom Hunter buddy. You might be fooled into thinking they're going easy on you with these possessed demons, but trust me, it's about to get a hell of a lot worse. And so's my aim against this fucking pain elemental. Hold still, would ya? But seriously, this next arena is no joke. Once you get past the 2 buff totems that this fight so graciously spawns, you get the privilege of fighting 2 big-ass cyber demons at once, and once you kill one of them, they're replaced by a Baron of Hell, one of whom is possessed. And with no falters, no freezes, no anything except the ammo-guzzling microwave beam when ammo is at a premium, it's no surprise that I end up getting cornered and absolutely obliterated my first time through. It's been a while since I fought one of these guys. I got a lot of rust to shake off. The next time around, I think the fight is bugged when I see 2 Barons and neither one of them are possessed. I have seen problems like that before, but apparently I just misinterpreted the spawning mechanics. It gets a little confusing, especially when there's yet another Baron that spawns in later just so he can get possessed too if you don't take care of the spirit pronto. But after a long, tough battle, it's over and done with, and that just leaves the final fight of the level. It's honestly a bit of a downgrade from either of the final arenas we just went through, as we once again just have to shoot a big glowing eyeball, this time inside of a cube that opens up erratically. It gives us a shitload of ammo every time we punch it, so it's really not relevant to this challenge, and it's overall pretty easy. So we get to the peak of heaven itself and squish the very essence of God himself in front of Dr. Sammy, and he's all butthurt for some reason, and all the people on the Ark carrier are like, "Oh no, he brought the soul of the devil on board the ship, yeah," and then they all poop themselves, except for this guy who's chill with all this and sends us into the final level of the DLC. As mentioned earlier, this is basically another Urdak, partially because it takes place in Urdak, but also because of the presence of Maker drones and their new older brothers, the Blood Makers. These guys are invincible except for a brief period of time when they're about to perform certain attacks where they're vulnerable to a headshot insta-kill. It's a simple but effective design, and much like the drones, these guys also drop a good chunk of ammo when they're killed. So considering you can take them out in a single precision bolt or sticky bomb, they're very ammo efficient enemies. This first big fight here starts off with a possessed Hell Knight right out of the gate, but luckily there's Maker drones everywhere, so I have no qualms whatsoever about spamming the hell out of lock-on rockets to bring them down as easily as possible. Unfortunately, the drones stop spawning in once you have to fight a Cyber Demon and a Marauder at the same time, and though I'm able to take down the Cyber Demon pretty easily, the Marauder is a different story once I start to run out of shotgun ammo. Luckily there's a pickup nearby, and he wasn't too far away from dying thanks to my earlier micro missiles barrage. Speaking of which, that's also what I used to take down yet another possessed Arachnotron. They really start to get creative with the possessed demons later on, and especially in the master levels. So far, Hell Knights and Arachnotrons have made up the bulk of our spirit encounters. When it comes to bigger fights, this level is on the shorter side, mostly because we're gearing up for the boss fight at the end, but this one with all the pillars is an interesting one, and not just because it's littered with ammo pickups. It has 2 phases, each one with a different gimmick and a set of demons to kill. The first one is easy, a pain Elemental is the worst they throw at you, but having to navigate around this area without bumping into the now electrified pillars is not easy, especially when yet another possessed Hell Knight is coming right for you. I never really considered how much they reuse the same couple of possessed demons until now. Maybe they expect them to possess some of the other guys in the arena more often when I've never given them the chance. Since there's Maker Drones in the next arena, I really don't feel bad at all about letting a few fully charged Destroyer Blades fly if it means easily taking out some Spectre Whiplashes. Especially because I haven't mentioned it yet, but for some fucking reason the game bugged, and ever since the Blood Swamps, as soon as a Whiplash came on screen, I'd hear their rattling noise ceaselessly for the rest of the fucking level. Yeah, I don't know why that happened. This fight is pretty smooth sailing for a while, but it really ramps up when you have a Bloodmaker spawning at the same time as 3 Barons of Hell bearing down on you. Thank God one of them isn't possessed this time. The Bloodmaker can easily slow you down with its projectiles, so it's imperative that you get it out of the way so you can focus on the big guys. I keep them all grouped up so I can maximize the damage dealt with the Blood Punch's Shockwave and my explosive weapons, which seems to work out just fine for clearing them out. And if you were worried that the next spirit encounter would be another Hell Knight or Arachnotron, don't you worry, because we have to fight 2 Cyber Demons at once next, and one of them is possessed. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the highest health pool of any enemy in the game that isn't a straight up boss. So I don't feel even a little bit bad about mag dumping my micro missiles and lock-on rockets just to put a dent in this bastard. It takes maybe 45 seconds of a constant onslaught of damage just to finally bring this giant bastard to his knees, and my reward is a Doom Hunter coming to take his place. Though I do get an actual reward with another Bloodmaker once his health goes down, and while I just barely missed a headshot and bring him into glory kill range by shooting him in the neck, it's not so bad since I can still blast his head away with full auto to get as much ammo from him as possible before finally taking down the second Cyber Demon. You can choose to go through 1 or 2 arenas that are essentially gimmicks before the final boss, and I choose to go for the Blood Punch arena since that doesn't involve consuming very much ammo at all. In fact, this fight even spawns Maker Drones, so I come out of this fight with more ammo than I started with. For the first time, the big final boss stock up point is basically useless to me, so we can finally face off against what may be, in terms of sheer difficulty, the hardest boss in Doom Eternal. But not in terms of this particular challenge. In fact, Samur here is actually the easiest of the game's 3 final bosses in regards to beating him without the chainsaw. Samur has multiple phases to get through, with this first one being pretty simple. He teleports around too much for your sustained fire options to work, so the best option is to just quick switch between the Ballista and Precision Bolt to take down not only his health bar, but also the electric eyeballs he spawns that deal damage in a radius and follow you around. And these are your salvation here, since they drop ammo upon being destroyed, making this first round effectively free as far as this challenge is concerned. Phase 2 has him use spirits to possess a Hell Knight and a Mancubus at the same time, and even if you take one out, a regular version of the one you kill will keep respawning. It's a rough combination since the Mancubus will pepper you down at range while the Hell Knight just rushes you down, and the only tools you have to stop them are pure damage since you can't take out the Mancubus's cannons. It's a pretty rough go of things, but I do just barely manage to pull through. Phase 3 is honestly pretty breezy. It's more of a round to catch your breath while dodging lasers and taking out Cacodemons for free health. Phase 4 is very similar to Phase 1, except the pillars now block a lot more of your line of sight, which makes the electric eyeball a bit more dangerous, and Bloodmakers now spawn in periodically. But for the purposes of our challenge, that's just more ammo to add onto the pile, so it's not a huge deal for us. But Phase 5 is the real bastard, because if you thought the possessed Hell Knight and Mancubus were bad, then a possessed Dread Knight and Pain Elemental are so much worse. It's saying a lot when the presence of yet more Bloodmakers is probably the kindest part of this fight, because at least they give you ammo instead of just soaking it all up like these bastards do. 2 lock-on bursts is not enough to bring this Dread Knight down, and I just have to keep pummeling him with damage. And even by the time he's done, the Pain Elemental is so oppressive that I just need to take out the normal Dread Knight for health, only for the Pain Elemental to cock block one of my rockets as it's right in front of my fucking face. heavily damaging me in the process and ultimately killing me. If that happened to me in an Ultra Nightmare run, I'd jump off a fucking bridge. And honestly, the next one looks like it's about to go even worse right out of the gate when this big bastard still won't get out of my face as I'm taking out the Dread Knight. But you can't keep a good man down. And if you can't trust damage boosted micro missiles to vaporize a giant sentient meatball vomiting up skulls possessed by the souls of the damned, what can you trust? And just like that, with one rather embarrassing death under our belt for this fight, we beat Sammer, wake up the devil, and prove that you can indeed beat Doom Eternal's first and hardest DLC without the chainsaw. I'm surprised by how much easier that was in the base game. There wasn't really a point where I felt like I was struggling all that hard for ammo outside of the beginning of the Blood Swamps, and even that got resolved fairly quickly. I'd even say that this could be a viable category to give a try in Ultra Nightmare if you feel especially masochistic. Now, I know there's still Tag 2 left to go, but the thing is that Tag 2 is based almost entirely around using the hammer, and the hammer drops shitloads of ammo upon every use, and it's available even more often than the chainsaw is, so it really wouldn't be a noteworthy playthrough at all. But you know, this challenge wouldn't really feel complete if we didn't finish the whole Doom Eternal package, would it? And it's not like the hammer is necessary to beat the DLC, and people usually complain that this DLC is too easygoing anyway, due in part to the hammer. So how different of a story is that if you just get rid of the hammer? So now it's time to find out if I can beat Doom Eternal and both of its DLCs without the chainsaw, and also if I can beat the Ancient Gods Part 2 without the chainsaw or the hammer. Let's get into it. So we start off by shooting the devil in the dick, and he's like,
Dude, not cool. Look, if you want... Dude, stop! If you want to fight me, you gotta come to my sick-ass Hell City and we'll have a duel there. Sound good? Alright, fuck, but I'll take that as a yes. Jesus, fucking asshole.
Anyway, so we get started in the World Spear, and I'm way more used to playing the Master level version of this than the regular one, so I was kind of waiting for a Cyber Demon to show up at the start here, and he never did. Where are you, my friend? The first real fight here isn't so bad. It's mostly here to introduce you to Screecher zombies who will buff nearby demons to a ridiculous degree if they're killed, so precision is key here. Though I find that they're very underutilized in this DLC, especially after you get the hammer, which deals damage in a big AoE, so you'd think that's where they'd be used a lot more often. Their explodey counterparts in Revelations, I feel, were used a lot more frequently than these guys. They're not here in the next section of this area, which just involves blood punching a bunch of pinkies as soon as the gamer stank cloud leaves the area. The shockwave of the blood punch might make that a pretty dicey operation, I don't know. Immediately afterwards, we're introduced to yet another new demon type with the Armored Baron, and this guy we'll be seeing a lot more frequently. And the combos to kill him quickly before his armor regenerates aren't gonna get any easier once we start to run low on ammo. I do end up spending a lot of ammo in the bigger fight up ahead. The giant tentacle takes a lot of bullets to whittle down after all, and I still have to contend with another Armored Baron and 2 Doom Hunters back to back. Really, my main problem in this fight is that I'm an idiot and I never look at the 2 points on my HUD to show me to my face whether or not I have a blood punch ready to go, and that's really important for a lot of my highly damaging combos. After another pretty easy fight that I more or less solo with full auto, where the most dangerous things are a few whiplashes, there's this little tucked away corner with a BFG cell in it that's a trap with some mancubi and explosive barrels. Yeah, I'm just here for the barrels, thanks guys. I didn't even need the cell. Actually, maybe I did need it considering this Hell Knight ends up kicking my ass in this tiny little goo arena full of Screecher zombies. I can't blood punch or grenade him in here without setting off the Screechers, so it's a surprisingly tough little fight if I want to conserve some of my ammo types. We return back to the previous arena, now covered in gamer stank, for this purple goo section where we mostly just kill a bunch of zombies while avoiding the Screechers, and then some mancubi come in which are a bit harder to deal with, especially without setting off the Screechers, which I end up doing exactly that. And then you think you're done, but nah, tricked you. Here's a little quad damage fight. Between this and the Stone Imps coming up soon, this really does feel like the please use full auto, trust us, we promise it's actually really fun DLC. I didn't need to be convinced. So we get the hammer that we won't ever be using from the guy who looks like a ghost even though he's alive, and move on to what may end up being the toughest fight in this level. This is kinda like the arena after you get the Crucible, where you're meant to test out the hammer and use it as much as possible here. They even give you lots of enemies with weak points to break on top of the expected big threats like a pair of Cyber Demons, and of course a spirit possessing another Arachnotron, which I think I'm good to go to take care of when the unthinkable happens. When the hell did I run out of plasma ammo? Oh dear God. Now the only thing I can do is keep fighting and wait until the spirit cannot possess any more demons in the arena. So after I take care of the first wave of enemies and kill the second arachnotron this thing possesses, of course it goes straight for the fucking cyber demon that spawns in next. I cannot kill this thing before the spirit takes over, and now I have to deal with the consequences of my actions. And people say this DLC is too easy. Now, despite the possessed cyber demon being the main threat here, my number one priority is the other cyber demon, since I cannot deal with killing two possessed cyber demons back to back. I just can't. And it takes a long time to chip away at this big meaty marble statue, especially because a good chunk of the fodder enemies are mecha zombies who are just such a nuisance to get profitable full auto ammo from. But once I finally do it, all that's left are the remaining fodder enemies who I wipe out before the spirit can possess any of them. Thank God that's over. And thank God the next arena is just the introduction to stone imps, the enemy designed to die to the weapon I've been using the most often in this challenge, and that give way more ammo back than other fodder enemies. Mwah, beautiful little creatures. This is such a weird challenge that it makes me happy to see turrets and stone imps of all things. So Doomguy lights the torch thingy so that now all of China knows he's here, and he hops on a dragon. Thankfully, this isn't leading to a Dark Ages dragon gameplay section. He just wants to reenact the never-ending story. Remember when Jack Black was like the school bully in the third Never-Ending Story movie? He doesn't want you to. I wouldn't either. Well, our never-ending story continues with this next fight that isn't too noteworthy. An armored baron and an empowered mancubus are about the scariest things we run into here. Then it's another little gimmick area full of explosive barrels and blood punch pickups that once again start swarming with pinkies. Ordinarily, this little hallway is barely a distraction, but I somehow end up dying here. I think I missed my punch. Next time around, it's about as easy as it actually should be. Then we get our first escalation encounter. The first of these fights are mandatory, but there's a second phase you can activate once you beat the first one to unlock some skins or if you just want a new challenge. I'm sorry to say I won't be doing the second escalation fights for any of these levels. I didn't do the Slayer Gates in Tag 1 for a similar reason. Even if I think the fights are fun, I don't get any benefit out of doing them. They just make the challenge harder and longer, and this video is long enough as it is. This fight really gets going towards the end where I'm just sitting up here waiting for everyone to walk into me as I mow them down with full auto, barely ever taking my finger off the trigger. It feels pretty awesome. Though, if you're getting bored of seeing me full auto down everything in sight, trust me when I say that's a problem that's going to get a hell of a lot worse before it gets better. That was the last really big fight of the level, but we still have a few obstacles in our way, not the least of which is my inability to manage blood punches when I have to fight multiple cyber mancubi at once. But we've also got this little mini arena where 3 Bloodmakers spawn back to back, and this last one is at least nice enough to give me 3 chances to headshot him before going down. And after that, it's 1 more giant tentacle followed by a couple of barons. Not even possessed or armored ones either. But that does it for this level's combat encounters. All it's left is doing some platforming to get us to the teleporty crystal doodad, and now we're on our way to reclaimed Earth. Good old hell on Earth without the hell, but the demons still stuck around. So just Earth, I guess. I don't seem to recall this many demons walking around the streets though. They're usually cooped up at Microsoft. This level introduces us to cursed prowlers, and in our first big arena that Horde mode players should be very familiar with, we can see the consequences of not focusing them down as soon as possible. These guys used to be a lot worse when they didn't have a sound cube while spawning in. This was on me for not prioritizing him, but I still managed to make it out alright. Even beyond that, this arena really isn't messing around. 2 barons and 2 cyber demons at once while getting pelted by mancubus fireballs is no joke. It really goes to show that a lot of the difficulty problems that people have with this DLC ultimately do come from just how busted the hammer is. After that, another new enemy type is introduced with chain gunner riot soldiers. Their shields are basically invincible, but they're easily bypassed by explosives at their feet or their backs, and their attacks aren't super threatening, so a few sticky bombs make short work of them. Up next is the level's escalation encounter, and without the hammer, I think this might be one of the hardest regular fights in the DLC. Maybe even in either DLC. I think part of it is the design of the arena. It's a lot of cramped and also short hallways without all that much in the way of maneuverability like you're used to in Eternal. Like plenty of the World Spear arenas we just saw were huge, wide open spaces that you could swing around all over the place in, but not here. My first death here helps demonstrate this shortcoming when I end up getting cornered by both the Marauder and a particularly aggressive Revenant, and in my desperate attempt to escape, I get beamed by a projectile. And yeah, first death. Because unlike the vast majority of my deaths in this challenge, I don't just flub it once and then get it right the next time. I die 5 times here before I actually nail this fight. This is probably one of the most chaotic arenas that they ever put you in with a Marauder outside of the master levels. There's so much you have to account for, and once again, it's because of the hammer. One parry and a hammer strike absolutely trivializes Marauders to the point where they're not even worth discussing. But when you don't have that luxury and you're getting swarmed by gargoyles and cybermancubi are shooting toxic boogers at you, things can get pretty overwhelming. 3 times in a row though, I don't even get that far. And I think this time around it's because I'm relying on full auto way too much, and I should be using my other weapons to deal meteor damage. But that's the balancing act you have to play during tough fights like this. Is it worth making a hard fight easier if it makes upcoming fights even harder? Well, several ballista and rocket shots later, the conclusion that I come to is, yes, I'm down with that, let's move on. I like how there's all these hammer pickups on the ground here because they really want you to spam the hell out of it here, but you could just full auto your way through most of this fight without needing to spam one of the most overpowered weapons in the game. I'm thankfully not missing the plasma ammo I spent in the escalation encounter against our next spirit. It's a possessed Pinky this time around, but thankfully they're as vulnerable from behind as ever. And this fight is small enough that by the time I'm done with him, there's no one left to possess, so hey, more plasma ammo for me. There's also this more incidental fight outside that I probably wouldn't have given too much mention to except for the fact that this Hell Knight got stuck in a tree and he died. I wish that Revenant in Atlantica was so quick to kill himself when he went out of bounds. And between the Bloodmaker, Stone Ams, and an empowered Cybermancubus all here to give me extra ammo, I think the game wants to really gear me up for this level's final arena. And it's right to do so. We've got a long one ahead of us. There's a lot to deal with here. Multiple Doom Hunters, another Cursed Prowler, Barons, a possessed Mancubus, multiple Pain Elementals. This is a real nail-biter. Once I kill the Mancubus, the Spirit thankfully doesn't see any viable targets, but maybe that's just a bit of mercy considering there's a goddamn Archvile on the field now on top of everything. Thank God spirits are incapable of possessing them. And even though I deal with the Archvile fairly quickly, I almost don't live to tell the tale. And with how overwhelming everything is, I make the biggest, most fatal mistake. Out of shotgun ammo. I am fucked. After taking down the remaining Pain Elemental with my Arbalest shots and peppering down the Baron with the couple of micro missiles it would have taken to kill him had I shot him with them earlier, I'm still left with a Dread Knight, a Mancubus, and worst of all, a Cyber Demon with a downright pitiful amount of ammo left. With no other options but to spam grenades for the rest of the fight, I have to bust out the ultimate tool I've been holding on to for some time now. Unmaker, my old friend, where the hell would I be without you? With that, we're able to clean up the remaining demons and head through the portal to the ancient hell city of Emora for our final, and without question, our hardest battle. So after we do the scene from Avengers Endgame, we can make our way into the level itself, and they did it again. They fucking did it again. The ammo didn't replenish in between levels again. It replenished in between World Spear and Reclaimed Earth. What, did I stop by an ammo store on the way over? After I lost all my shotgun ammo too? Really? I am straight up done asking for any consistency at this point, dude. Well, whatever. Thankfully, the first bit of Emora here is entirely skippable, which ordinarily I'd have problems with, but not at this point. I'm just glad I don't have to burn all my Unmaker ammo since that's all I've got left. But not for long, since there's graciously a few pickups here just before the level's escalation encounter. And who should I see in that encounter but my best friend in this whole challenge, the Maker Drone, completely dispelling this challenge from existence for this encounter and giving me carte blanche to let 3 fully charged destroyer blades fly without ever losing a single plasma ammo. This, I would say, is definitely the most easygoing of the escalation encounters. encounters. You'd think it would be the hardest considering how tough Reclaimed Earth was, but not so much. It must be hard to make new and increasingly difficult encounters while pulling from the same pool of demons without just spamming them to a ridiculous degree. I always take fights in general for granted without thinking too hard about the design that goes into making them. I mean, if you want to make some fights harder, you could just jack up the health of a pain elemental so that even 3 direct Arbalest shots don't kill it. But my aim with the other shots was pretty pathetic here, so it's no wonder I ended up dying. Next time around, neither of the pain elementals are empowered, so this is understandably a lot easier. That being said, difficulty might just be a relative thing, because I can apparently go toe-to-toe with Barons and Doom Hunters just fine, but a couple of turrets and some purple goo is enough to put me in the ground twice, because I just don't think to shoot them before the tentacle. I don't do drugs, but if I did do drugs, this would be a good example of why not to do them. But unfortunately, the best advice I can give you is just don't be stupid. This isn't even supposed to be the hard part. That comes later with another possessed Hell Knight, which I try to kill without needing to kill the spirit, but it gets the other Hell Knight before I take it down. In trying to save 65 plasma ammo, I ended up spending a bunch of completely different ammo just to kill this guy. I don't know if it was worth it. There is one more enemy introduced in this DLC, and that's these little Imora Trooper dudes. I genuinely wouldn't even bring these guys up, but they are relevant to the challenge since they have very low health and drop a nice chunk of ammo on death. I remember when the DLC first released and these guys genuinely had 1 health. You could kill them by flame belching or meat hooking on them. It was really sad. Well, it's a good thing they topped us off because we've got another rough one ahead of us with another double Marauder fight. This time with a bunch of Screecher zombies. I told you they weren't utilized much. This is the first time I've mentioned them since World Spear. Well, I tried to pull the same trick on them as I did in Atlantica, but unfortunately the splash damage of the micro missiles hits one of the Screechers, and now I have 2 ridiculously buffed Marauders on my ass. They are straight up not even worth fighting at this point. I just have to wait for the buff to wear off. Even when it does, I'm all flustered and get caught so that one of the Marauders just cleaves me to death with his axe. Well, next time I pick a much better spot to hit the Marauders with my micro missiles, and this time the axe is on the other foot, neck, head, part. A Baron does spawn to replace this guy before the next Marauder even goes down, but even when I play fast and loose shooting rockets with all their splash damage, I still got this in the bag. There's another Armored Baron just afterwards, but thankfully some of the local walking pinatas are happy to resupply me once I'm done taking him down, and just in time for another very difficult fight. I watch as the Dark Lord is on the move, ready to intercept him and take him down, but then I get cursed by a Prowler after 5 seconds and then I die. I think this is the only fight in the entire game that's easier if you skip the cutscene, because the demons that surround you if you watch it all the way through aren't there the next time around. Also, I did not hear the cursed Prowler spawn in sound effects, so I didn't even know he was there. Not a problem if you skip the cutscene and I instantly trash him the next time around. It's weird. Anyway, this is actually a really solid fight and one of the best in the DLC. It's got a solid variety of tough enemies in a well-designed arena, makes good use of the new variants by throwing in not only the cursed Prowler that got me before, but another Armored Baron as well, on top of a lot of the usual very tough suspects including a Cyber Demon, a Bloodmaker, and another possessed Baron who ends up killing me on my second attempt here. Imora often gets criticized for being a fairly short level that doesn't have that many tough fights in it, but I think if there were 1 or 2 more arenas like this, it would be remembered a lot more fondly, especially since the visual design of this place is pretty rad. But you get what you get with COVID constraints and a strict deadline. All things considered, they made a pretty sick fight here that ended up burning a lot of my ammo. Hopefully I'll get a bit more ammo once I make it to the final boss's arena. Good thing the Devil's aerial defenses amount to a single Pain Elemental and Gargoyle, otherwise infiltrating his base would be a lot harder. Alright, the only ammo in the lead up to the boss fight is shotgun ammo because it's a gimmick arena full of stone imps where you just hold down the full auto button until they all die. I really hope you guys aren't sick of full auto yet because we're going to be using it a whole hell of a lot here. Welcome to the reason I almost considered quitting this challenge. The Dark Lord. Like I said, COVID restrictions, hard deadlines. It usually spends, or fucking spent I guess, a lot of time working on their bosses and they didn't have that luxury this time around. I still don't like this boss, like at all. His design is cool, but that's about it. The thing with this boss is that he's basically binary. If you fight him the way you're supposed to fight him, wait around, counter to stun him, hit him with the hammer, wail on him while he's stunned. It's really easy. The answer to everything in this boss fight is the hammer. We ain't using the hammer, so our window to damage him is so much shorter than it would be if we were using it. We can maybe sneak in a super shotgun hit and blood punch before he gets right back to it, and this makes the fight so much fucking longer. How much longer? How about an hour and 15 minutes? There are 5 phases to this boss fight, and outside of a couple of attacks, they're almost all identical. He's often described as being essentially a big marauder, but I find that insulting to the design of the Marauder, who I think is a very fun enemy to fight with a lot of options for taking them down. I hope that my affinity for using micro missiles of all things against them in this video has proven that there's a lot more to Marauders than Ballista Super Shotgun combos or Speedrunner 1 cycles. There is nothing to the Dark Lord except just waiting for him to do the green attack and then you counter. It's the most boring way of engaging with Marauders condensed into a 5-phase boss form that we've thankfully gotten past the first phase of. Now listen, a lot of my struggles with this boss fight in this run come down to the challenge I'm currently undertaking. You hit him with the hammer to get your ammo back, he drops a bunch of health when you damage him while he's stunned, it's rhythmic. Meanwhile, the only way I can reliably heal large amounts of health is by glory killing zombies, and the only way I can get ammo back, aside from the scant few pickups in these arenas, is by full autoing the zombies. This puts us into a different rhythm, a much slower one. But I want to show you how I died on my first attempt here. I've gotten a bit of damage on him, but he hits me back and regenerates a bit of health from each hit with his sword. This is annoying, but somewhat understandable. The Dark Lord is basically just evil Doom guy, so healing off of hitting you is like his version of a glory kill. It makes a bit of sense. I know it wasn't in the scope of the project, but personally what I would have done is have him take one of the zombies around the arena and just like rip it in half or crush its head to drink its blood, and have that be a major counter opportunity. Kinda like that one Armstrong heal in Metal Gear Rising. If you let him get the heal off, then it sucks, but it would also be one of your best opportunities to get a shitload of damage in against him. But whatever, this is what they had to work with, and this plus a weird block during what was otherwise a perfect parry opportunity throws me off my groove enough that I end up dying to him. But what happens on my next attempt is unforgivable boss design. This may be my least favorite thing I've ever seen in any video game boss I've ever fought in my life, and I fought the off-screen demonic helicopter in Devil May Cry 2. Oh, fuck you. Your eyes did not deceive you. Shooting the boss heals him. I will repeat that for everyone in the back. Shooting the boss heals him. And it heals him so much more than him hitting you does. See, even though he has these attacks that leave giant, wide open windows for you to very obviously shoot him, it's not like these only do a bit of damage, but they don't give you the stun, and they leave you open to getting hit. That would be one thing. No, they straight up just heal like over half of his health in one go, because they're not the arbitrarily counterable green attacks that you're supposed to hit him during. Doom Eternal gets a lot of flack for forcing players into a box that doesn't allow for a lot of self-expression. And I don't think that's the case for the vast majority of the game, and criticism like that generally comes from a place of inexperience. This boss, though, completely valid criticism. You fight this fucker one way, or you can go kick rocks. I can't tell you how happy I am that they absolutely nailed the boss fights in Revelations. They kicked some serious ass there. But my ass is the only one getting kicked here, mostly due to me trying to experiment with my beloved micro missiles. It doesn't work out very well, but I managed to figure out a much better strategy next time around that primarily focuses around using the blood punch as much as possible, since if I can get 2 blood punches off on him especially, that's the biggest chunk of damage I can do in one go. I really wish there were some actual demons besides zombies that I could glory kill in this fight, like some Kako demons or something, but I just have to deal with his phantom summons in his final phases. It's not fun, and it's very tedious, but eventually I whittle down not only his second phase, but also his third. He then tells Martian Siri, who's actually God, to tell me that the devil is actually God and God is the devil, and true to my playstyle at this point, I do not give a fuck and just make sure my super shotgun is loaded for the next time this jackass turns green. And now we enter phase 4. I will now proceed to spend the next 50 minutes of my life attempting to get through these last 2 fucking phases. In totality, I died to this boss 23 times, but a solid portion of those deaths were experimental attempts that only lasted about 30 seconds each, or I just let myself die because I'd genuinely rather try again from the start than go through with the shotgun ammo ring around the rosy cycle just to unheal the health he healed that I already unhealed from him. Some of the experiments went as follows. How good is the Unmaker when you stun him? Not very. How good is the BFG when you stun him? Not very. Awesome. The BFG takes out a full phase of the Conmaker in a single hit and instantly destroys a body part from the Icon of Sin, but it just sort of tickles the devil a little bit. At one point I have to let myself die because through pure muscle memory I hammer all of his ghostly summons like you're supposed to do, but that's against the rules, so I can't do that and live to tell the tale. His summons are really the thing that makes this part so aggravating because it's easy enough to toss a grenade at his ghost dogs like a very morbid game of fetch, but now he always summons a Hell Knight on top of that, which I can't just waste the ammo on killing, so he's just always there. If I do kill him, then he's gonna get summoned again right away along with the dogs. The best thing I can do is keep this ghostly Hell Knight alive for as long as possible and just eat whatever hits that requires I eat. It fucking sucks, but at the very least any damage I take has a chance of giving me a boosted power blood punch, which does a significant chunk of damage to the bastard. And I'd rather the Hell Knight hit me than the Dark Lord, because if he hits me then he's just gonna heal off the extra damage I dealt anyway. And as much as getting constantly chased by the Hell Knight sucks, it doesn't suck nearly as much as when he pulls his ultimate of summoning a huge group of demons consisting of a Mancubus, Pain Elemental, Baron, and a Cyber Demon. Thankfully their health is much lower than their actual demonic counterparts since they're meant to die to a single hammer strike, but dude, I do not have the ammo to be spending on killing these fuckers, and unlike their actual counterparts, they don't even drop ammo if they're killed with full auto, which would actually make my life a lot easier. Some of my experiments were spent on figuring out the best way to deal with these assholes instead of the boss himself. Energy Shield doesn't do too much, and neither do micro missiles. Keeping them alive is also not an option. They're just too overwhelming on top of the boss himself. He thankfully doesn't use his ult very often, so it's honestly probably best to just use the BFG on these bastards to get them out of the way quickly and get back to ring around the rosy. Unfortunately, the devs knew how worthless the BFG was in this fight, and I used the Unmaker a bit in the last real arena, so I have to use that if he pulls his ult multiple times. It actually works decently well, so it may actually be the more ammo efficient method. I will say, even when I'm playing in the most optimal way, the fact that I constantly have to be on the move means it's a lot more difficult to quickly line up a fully profitable insta-kill even on the motionless zombies. I'm just gonna say it, I think this fight should have had some blood makers periodically spawning in instead, but maybe that would just help for the sake of this challenge and make everyone else's lives completely miserable. At least it'd be something else to pay attention to besides the boss's eye color. Eventually I get an attempt that makes it to his final phase, but when I inevitably die from deciding the wrong zombie is worth killing, we learn the hard truth that your respawn point is less phase-based and more arena-based, meaning we absolutely have to get through both final phases in one go. That one attempt, which didn't even get him down to half health on his final phase, lasted for about 7 minutes. His health would have been lower if he didn't heal off of me so goddamn much, but what the fuck ever. My next attempt lasts about 6 minutes and doesn't even get him to phase 5. That's how volatile this fight is, especially when he uses his ultimate 3 times in one fucking phase. I hate you so much. But 5 miserable attempts later, we're finally on the run. I need you to understand me here. This one attempt at just the last 2 phases of this boss, this one successful attempt took me 12 fucking minutes. If I strung all of my successful attempts together, it would come out to 24 minutes total. So half of my time actually making progress on this boss was spent on his final 2 out of 5 phases. It's a slow, tedious slog of a fight to get through, because even when I make substantial progress, it's the part where I have to restock on everything that makes it absolutely miserable. 4 zombie glory kills for both of my blood punches, up to 12 zombies to get all of my shotgun ammo back, all while constantly getting pummeled by constantly respawning dogs and constantly respawning Hell Knights, and not to mention the boss himself and all of his constantly repeating voice lines whenever he smacks my ass cheeks around. I'm fucking trying. The slog does not get any easier when he once again telekinetically blocks my fucking counter to the stupid ass green attack after spending like a full minute dancing around waiting for him to finally do it. I spend so much time doing this that I end up discovering a much more reliable method of getting blood punched than constantly glory killing the zombies, though it does cost me a bit of bullet ammo, which I thankfully have a good amount of in reserve along with a few pickups laying around. If I kill the zombies with precision bolt while meat hooking onto them, they drop armor that, if my armor is currently full, will help charge my blood punch a lot faster and safer than glory killing them. The only downside is I can't take too much damage in the process or I'll have to start collecting armor all over again, and this method is on a timer until I run out of bullet ammo, or worse, I'll have to resort to shotgun ammo and make the reloading process take longer. It's possible to get both armor and shells at once with full auto, but it's a lot harder than a quick P-bolt. Even if it doesn't end up working, at the very least the extra armor is giving me much needed survivability. By the next time he uses his ult, I've got to use the Unmaker to clear everyone else out since I just don't have the ammo to spare on anything else. It's all too valuable to waste on these dorks. And after so much fucking dancing around and glory killing and armor collecting and full auto and dodging the Hell Knight and so much tedium, the last half of his health is dealt with in about a minute. I need health, so I get my blood punches the old-fashioned way, and the next counter opportunity I see, I punch him twice, rinse and repeat until he's on a sliver of health, and the only thing I have left to counter him at this point is the ballista. And after 2 merciful shots, I finally bring him down with 1 shot left to spare. I stab the fucker in the heart with a weapon that is definitely not the chainsaw or the hammer, proving that yes, if you are masochistic, patient, and stupid enough, you can indeed prove that you control the buttons you press and beat Doom Eternal and its DLCs without ever using the chainsaw, or the hammer for that matter. But once you get to 2 out of 3 final bosses, you probably won't have any fun doing it anymore. What a weird fucking run. I don't know if there's any other challenge in all of Doom Eternal where Tag 1 is without question the easiest part of it. Now, this run definitely had higher highs than the no upgrade challenge, and those highs stayed very consistent to the point where a lot of the time it felt mentally engaging to figure out how to beat certain areas with as little ammo as possible, but still not especially challenging. But the lows were some of the most dismal I've felt in any challenge run I've ever done for this channel. I'd rather be bashing my head against the brick wall that is that one fuck-ass final sin arena with no upgrades than I would try to beat the Icon or Dark Lord without the chainsaw or hammer again, because even though it's miserable, at least the problems I had were purely a skill issue, just in regards to a skill that I never ended up developing over my many years of playing the game, with just playing without upgrades. These fuckers have their difficulty sliders up to max literally just because there is a finite amount of ammo unless you farm zombies with full auto, and it sucks balls. If blood punches just gave you some ammo drops, I'd be so fucking happy. Maybe that's the lesson to take away from all this. I hope you enjoyed watching this challenge. I'll do my best to think of something just as interesting and hopefully less tedious for next time. Until then. God, I've never wanted to chainsaw something so fucking badly.